Hey everyone. I always forget to do this. There we go. That's much better. Hi everyone. So I'm gonna play some OpenTTD. Hey Garby. Um, this is I don't think I've ever streamed OpenTTD before. It's one of those idle games that I'll play every once in a while, just to sort of pass the time. And I do want to stream something else right now, but I just don't have the energy. But I said I was going to stream today, and if I'm not going to stream, I'm going to play this. Um, I'm going to mess around with the settings real quick here and see if we can get this to do a few things. So we want some sounds, and then we have some music options here. See how this sounds. Okay, so that should be playing. It is not. Let me fix the audio so it does play through this. I can hear the audio, you won't. Are you... Yeah, you're going to use the raw one, so let me fix that. There we go. So there's the audio. OpenTTD at least respects the default sound. Oh, thanks. Hey, Emma. Hey, Drex. If I don't like the music and it gets too tiring, I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to set it to use... let's make sure this works. I'm going to set it to use, like... I'll just put on the stream music or something. So... but yeah, we'll see what happens today. Holy shit, I hope you do move to the Pacific Northwest. Does that mean Seattle or what? Oh, we're gonna use silly names. Fuck yeah, I'd be happy to have you up here. We can go camping finally, like we've been talking about for a while. Camping fucking rules, by the way. If you haven't done camping, go camping. Let's give it a little bit of hilliness. I'm gonna set the 256 by 256. Like 10, 20, like you can go up to like 2048, I think. I think you can go higher than that, but 4096 or something. And yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I'm gonna start in 1970 because I'm not gonna lie, I fucking hate steam engines in this game. You get electric trains when you start in the 60s or 70s, and you get like 10 years to go and build like all sorts of things. So yeah, you once camped for an entire summer. I'm a weekend camper. I like camping for like, you know, up to maybe 4 days. Like more than that, and it starts to get a little bit tiring. Hey, yes, Grunt. Let's see here. So we have smoothness, very smooth, rough. We want some plateaus, rivers. I'm gonna put few. Rivers are a little bit obnoxious as well. Sea level. I'm gonna like. Let's set this to water. I want to make this an island. All right, so we have this. We're gonna set it to temperate. You have like options between this. You also have silly, like Toyland. I'm not interested. So let's generate some stuff here. So what do we got here? We got one sort of like island in the shape of a number 6. So this is going to require the use of like things like ships, I guess. By the way, this game is free. Anyone here can download this, and you can, hell, it's open source for that matter. So yeah, so this is not a super hilly island. You can see here it's probably the highest point on the map. Maybe around here might be the highest point. We got some interesting names here. What do we got here? We got some Tanglebridge and Fiddlebury. Actually, we don't even have to do it this way. We can pull up the town directory this way. So what do we got for town names here? All right, we got Amblewell, Blubberville, Bubblewell, Cheekyburg, Cherrywood, Cocklewick, Crackerberry, Crackerpool, Krustyhead, Krustyweed, Dribbleburg, Eggbury, Ferryton, Ferryworth, Fallingate, Fiddleberry, Frogshead, Grumpyworth, Jollyhead, Lazyberry, Lazyworth, Mousebridge, Noodlesville, Noodleswell, Pinkergate, Poodlesbridge, Quackpool, Ricketybury, Rumbleworth, Scatterworth, Sillybury, Sleepyweed, Slippery Bridge, Slippery Weed, Splutterpool, Splutterwell, Sulky Wick, Swindlewig, Tanglebridge, Tangleberg, Tricklewig, Trickleworth, Tumblebridge, Twisterworth, and Windybury. These names are not silly at all. You can probably find half of them in the fucking UK. So, you know, let's run with this here. So, all right. So, we have a couple. Usually, like how I like to play this game is I like to build spines. So you always have like one line that is, you know, your predominant main line. You know, you would make that the focal point of like making it absurdly wide at certain points, having all sorts of switches and such. And then you would start to connect all the cities. So we have like Cheekyburg and Crackleberry. Actually, let's sort this by population size. I want to see by population. So our largest city is Jollyhead, which is all the way over here. So the largest city is on this peninsula, I guess. And then Dribbleberg is all the way on the other end here. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to connect these two. And then we got Cheekyburg. So we got Cheekyburg, Dribblesburg, and Jollyhead. So I think my goal is to eventually build a line strictly to Dribblesburg. Now, one thing I'm noticing here is like there's this giant gap that looks ominous, but actually might work to my benefit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and see what we got around here and what's suitable for building a railway. So taking a look here, there's a farm here. One of the things about farms in this game is that they're expensive to build on. So you want to avoid building on farmland when possible, and that's kind of the reason why I want to build this all first, because I got all this space here. And I wouldn't rule out the possibility that the game is going to throw a whole bunch of farms down there. Like, that's what's going to happen, right? So let's do this here. I'm thinking I'm going to make a terminus station here, because there's nowhere convenient for me to build. There's nowhere convenient for me to build something, right? Like there's a coal mine here, you got a sawmill, you got a tree farm here, or forest. It's really weird looking. You got a power plant. So like all of these things are going to need to be connected. What I'm thinking is that we'll put a rail station here eventually, but then this will be like a terminus station with like a pass through or something. So let's do this. We're going to build all electric. This has... Did I set this to Doom music? No, never mind. There is actually Doom as an option. I did download the Doom tracks for this. So let's do this here. I am going to build Dribbleberg North. And there's a couple of things I want to do before I touch this. And I'm going to put this off to the side because eventually I think I'm going to need at least 4 or 6 tracks here. We got that. So perfect. And then what I'm going to do is... Let's see how much money do I have. 184,000 euro. So what I want to do is I actually don't want to focus necessarily... Let me think about this. Let's see here. So that lets me build all that. So let's start building out. Yes, I have an idea of what I want to do here. This is what we're going to do. So I'm going to build a station here as well. And its purpose is... We're going to use 5 train cars, by the way. I'm not going to go... Actually, let's put this here. Let's destroy these tracks here. Like I said, you want to build like spines. And then I actually want to make it so down the road I can actually expand it to that tree farm, I think. So let's move this here. Oops. Cool beans. OpenTTD. That sounds painful. Having worked a little bit with ArcGIS, I would not wish that upon you. All right, so let's put this here. All right, and then these signals here need to go here. Ooh, these are the wrong signals. We actually want these signals. Otherwise, trains will never be able to get through here. These are one-way signals, and they have a purpose, but they will bite you in the ass if you use them incorrectly. But I want these signals, which are like, I guess we can call them they're just called pass signals. So let's put them in here, let's put these here, and put these here. And then what I want to do is I want to build another railway station here. And then let's build this up here. And let's connect this to here. Okay, there we go. So now we have something that's purpose, like, you know, there's a purpose to this now. So we can take the stuff from the mines and put them in the power station. And that'll be one of our first revenue sources. So let's grab this. Now we have the option of using electric trains. Electric trains are more expensive, but they are a little bit easier to maintain, if I remember right. So let's do that. So we got this, this, and this, and this. And the reason why I'm doing it this way is I want it to service itself on both ends, because we should have enough time to do this. We want to full load all the cargo, and then we don't have to worry about this, because once it arrives at the Scatterworth West Station, it should just drop everything off. And then let's also organize everything in advance, so we'll just call this, like, coal transport. So we've done that, move this into here. And now we have a train called Coal Transport 1, right? And we should be able to do this now. And it should start generating revenue for us. And while it's doing that, we have about 71,000 euro left. So let's take a look at how we're going to get to Tanglebridge. So we have a couple of options here. We could just go across the water, and it's a little bit easier because we got this river in the way. And staying as level as possible is actually one of the better things to do in this game. So we're gonna build 2 bridges while we have a chance. So let's do that. That might have been a mistake, but whatever. We'll see how long I go before I hit Control-Alt-C. And then what we want to do is take a look at Tanglebridge's situation. We could... Yeah, I think I'm going to have to do is maybe make a station that goes here, and then I might have to dig through here. And then, what are we playing today? This is OpenTTD, Open Transport Tycoon Deluxe. It is a sort of like a semi-city building / transportation building game. It's kind of hard to describe. I never played it as a kid. I only discovered it like 5-6 years ago. So let's see how much this is going to cost. Actually, let's find out how much this is going to cost me. So it's going to cost me 23,000 euros. So let's do this first. Let's build a station here with the intention of eventually digging through, like, through the mountains there. So this is why this game is hard, because you kind of have to sort of plan for doing expensive things when you don't really want to. And now you can see here I need 1,500 euro. So let's see what we got here. If I hit the fast forward, we might be able to get something out of this. So you got 10,000. Okay, cool. So we should be able to make some money off of this now. So let's build that last section of rail. And then, because we're eventually going to need to... eventually we're going to have to extend the tracks further, right? So let's build this out this way. Cool, we got a little bit of a switchback. These are important because when you have multiple trains entering into a station, you need to be able to like take into account that there might be a need to like have trains queuing, and that'll become a logistical nightmare for you. So you're just better off building that in advance. So let's do this. We got that. We got that. That's the correct ones here. So what do we got? We got almost 5,000 euros. So let's run this real fast for a moment. So let's gain some currency here. There's subsidies in this game as well if you do things. I'm not prepared to do that just yet because we're only building up a spine and then we can take on the subsidies. What do we got here? I need 60,000 euros. So let's wait a bit. Are you not getting service? Are you getting service at all? Hold on a sec. What's your settings set to? I see. So it will go for service. Okay, cool. So it will do that. So let's not run this at ultra speed anymore. We have enough money to build a new train. No, stop. That's fine. That's enough. We don't need to run at ultra speed. So we got our first new train, and then we need to run some passenger trains as well. So let's do this. We can get this up to about 5. There we go. Cool. And then let's set it for this, and then let's go all the way over here. We're not going to service here because I'm eventually going to make this train go further. And let's get rid of this non-stop bullshit because it's going to burn us. So now we have train number 2, and we now have a second source of revenue. We don't care about passenger loads on in this way because they're always going to be variable. You don't want the trains like waiting at the station forever to build up, especially if the train... You can have a town shrink in size. But nonetheless, here we go. So we got this. We got 8,000. We got 8,000 euro. Let's, no, 20,000 euro almost. So let's start building up this as well. And then build up this. And then build up this. There we go. And then let's also think about this here. Let the train go in. It's not gonna... this is... On this particular first run of that train, it's not gonna make any money. It's just gonna arrive at the station and then just buzz off. Let me just take some pills here. Never mind the fact that the station is like visible between 2 towns. There's actually a catchment area as well. I don't know if you keep clicking on it shows. Here we go. So every station has a catchment area, but there's a little trick. If you ever want to expand the catchment area on the cheap, and you don't really want to do too much, you might be able to just do this. So you can just go and click on that, and now the station covers like more of the town. But it depends on like a whole bunch of different factors. Let's see if we can do this. No. Let's see. What else can we do? Might be able to do it this way. No. Can I do it this way, maybe? Oh, come on. You see if I can get it. Maybe I have to do it with the... I think I have to do it with the lorry station, excuse me. Okay, so Fiddleberry and Tangle Bridge, I can't connect as well that way, but that's okay. The only way around this is like if you had an airport. Airports are like the big money hack in this game, by the way. If you want to make tons of money, you're super fast, just build an airport and start flying between 2 cities, and you'll make your money like super fast. Like, it's just... You go from like earning like diddly squat to like just absurd amounts of money in this game. Like the entire economic system that this game uses for trains and all that is like completely busted when airplanes come into the mix. I need 7,100 euro. Yeah, I was playing this with Author Blues and Liz Star like months back as a like just privately, and like Auth was the first one to afford an airport, and he just like just obliterated us on the map. That was actually a fun evening. We just kind of just did nothing for an entire evening and just played this game for like, I don't know, 6 hours. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like the airports are like highly uncompetitive if you're going up against them. I need 7,100 still. But oh, okay, so it seems to know it's soon. Okay, I'm getting sick of the Christmas music. I'm gonna change it. Let's see what we got here. There we go. Do you know there's a Doom music set for this? Well, you do now. All right, so got this here. Awesome. So we now, I believe, have a sufficient. Yeah, it's sufficient now. We now have a sufficient dual track situation between these two. What I'm gonna see is how much money is each. How many passengers are waiting here? 9 passengers. Not really worth it just yet. Okay. Okay. So let's go through here. I want to go through the mountainside. Can I not do it just yet, or do I not have the money? I don't have the money yet, so you need $1,800 for this. Okay. Come on, give me some cash. Come on, give me the cash. I can just speed this up here. There we go. So let's start building up the next extension here. So now we've gone through like the worst of it. And let's start building up this way. Let's see here. I need 3,000. Was it Silkywick? What was the name of the town here? Jollyhead. That's right. So when I build the Jollyhead, I'm going to build over here. And then that way I can at least extend the train all the way out to Twisterworth, and then I guess I can run like a little shuttle service or something out to Ferryton. And that'll give me like an entire spine to work with here. Like I'll call this like the Peninsula rail, like the Peninsula service or something like that for the passenger stuff. So like I have one lone train sitting here. Maybe I could just call it that. So let's create a new group and call it like Peninsula. I think that's how you spell Peninsula. Is that how you spell Peninsula? God, how the hell do you spell Peninsula? No, I spelled it right. Okay. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I just didn't want to put like spell it as Peninsula or something like that. So we can call this Peninsula Connector. There we go. We're gonna call this the Peninsula Connector, and I'll put that in there, and then we'll start building the rail out towards the town that we want to like kind of link. We want to link these two cities, right? Because they're the big economic centers, right? So that gives us that. Let's cut through here. I will actually build like a spur to that particular town. All right, so now we need 12,000 for that. So that's what we'll do here. I'm determined not to build it on hills, by the way. You will have to at some point. But like if you're building like a main line, I think that's what they call them in rail terminology, like a main line. You want to like not like put that on hills if you can avoid it, because like trains actually have like a maximum, like I shouldn't say that, trains typically have a maximum gradient of like what, 6%. You can actually do 8% if you use something like linear induction motors, which is what the city here does. There's actually a section of track that has like an 8% grade, which is absurd for a train. Or you do something like have like a cog in like a cog sort of situation where like you build like what do you call them? They have them in like really hilly places, like a train that goes like up and down on a rail, but it has like a cog that pushes it or something. There's lots of little things to do, but like anything that's self-propelled, you wouldn't necessarily want to do that way. Ooh, it just occurred to me, I could actually build another platform here and earn a little bit more money. And this is still within the model that we want. So let's do this here. I'm going to actually see if I can take... Yeah, I can totally take from that. Let's take from the... Let's take coal from this station here. And then I'm going to do a couple of things here and here. And let's do that. And I'm going to do this. So we have a giant red X. And then I need 6,600. Yeah, 8%'s a really steep grade. We get away with it because we don't use torque for the engines. We use linear induction. So it just pulls itself along the track. In theory, you probably could go higher than 8%, but I don't see a reason why they would. I guess you could probably do a maglev train at 8%. There wouldn't be any reason that you couldn't. But like, there's only like so many functioning maglev systems in the world, right? So, all right. So there we go. So we got that. Since we want more revenue, let's mess with this a bit here. There we go. So now I have this. And the sole purpose of this is to... Yeah, we'll do it this way. This is... A mechanical / electrical engineer would be able to answer such an interesting question. All right, so we're gonna see. We need about 60. We need at least $80,000 or is 80,000 euro here. I have no idea why this is set to euro. Oh, I had a train breakdown. All right, let's get this up here. All right, so we got enough there. So let's build a new electric train set. So this will take up that much, and then let's fill this up with as many coal trucks as possible. I need a little bit more than that. Want to get us up to there? Perfect. So let's do this. Perfect. Oh, I don't want that many, so let's get rid of that one. And then there we go. So now we have 5 vehicles, or what do you call them? Cars. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna have it go between this station here and Scatterworth, and then I want it here. I want it to always do service at these stops. Non-stop is fine because we're just transporting stuff between point A and point B. So let's do that, and then let's move this in here. This is so weird hearing Doom music to this. All right, so now that we have this, let's turn this on. So now it's what I've done with both of these trains, just so you understand, is like you actually have goods waiting here, right? And what you can instruct the train to do is the moment it arrives at the station, don't leave until you get a full load of whatever. You can do this with passengers. I don't recommend doing it with passengers, but at least with like things like goods or, you know, like livestock, coal, gold, whatever, do it this way because the trains earn less money when they move. Ooh, look at that. So a lot of this game is really just micromanagement, so you just have to learn how to micromanage really well. So let's see how this goes here. And now I should be able to earn a little bit more money a little bit faster, so... Alright. So, now that we've done this, we have quite a bit. In theory, I guess I could build something that went over this way. It's a little bit out of the way. I don't really care enough. I'm also going to do another rail set here. Again, this is just me subsidizing the passenger service for now. So I'll do the exact same thing here as well. So build another rail station here. And then let's do this. And then, yes. Perfect. So now I've done that, and then we can also set this up. So The trains will stop if they need to here. So rail signals are very helpful. Always build them when you can. And then put one here as well. That should be enough. Is there anything I'm missing? Yeah, I'm gonna not worry about that for the moment. Hey, Luna. What did I say? Don't. I love my cat. Alright. Oh, and put one here. So that way, while the train's waiting, it's not blocked. Luna, stop that. Oh yeah, she knows what I'm doing. Or rather, I wouldn't say she knows what I'm doing, but she knows when to be a pain in the ass. I love her though. Alright, so this cost me 70,000 euro. This one cost me 60,000. I'm not going to spend 70,000 euro on a train that, you know, this one says it goes 160. This one goes 177. It's not worth it for me because I'm just moving coal. Like, come on, give me another 2,000. Come on. There we go. I love my cat, but she's a pain in the ass. Alright, so there we go. So we can do this, this, and then this, and this. This will probably be the last time I'm going to give this anything new. Yeah, exactly. This is precisely how this works. Alright. So we got this. Now that station, now that should be more than enough for us to start doing stuff. The other thing we can also transport is oil to this station, so we can eventually come to this. But now we have a revenue center that's pretty, like we have revenue centers that'll help us extend this so we can like start running better passenger service. So if I start running this for a bit, we should start seeing some pretty impressive numbers coming out of this. Remember clean coal? Anyway, there you go. Got 100,000 euros sitting in the bank. So let's build the rail line that we originally wanted to do in the first place. So we can just build this all the way down. And then build this all the way over here. Like, we're going to have enough money to build a couple stations along the way, but whatever. Which way should I go? If I go this way... Yeah, okay, this is what we're going to do. So there we go. So we got this. All right. And then we enter into here. There's Jollyhead, like I said I want to get to. Okay, so where are we at? We got 65,000 euro. Perfect. So let's build a 2-track station on the edge of town. And then just to make it so it has a bigger catchment area for later, just so we have some success later. Can I build it? Will it? Oh, perfect. There we go. So now I basically cover the whole town with that one station. So let's do this. And do this. So now we've connected Jollyhead and the other and the others and the other town that I'm forgetting its name because they all have silly names, right? And then let's also build one more station out this way. This one build here. Perfect. This is so weird hearing Doom music like this. All right. Ooh, hold on a sec. What do we got here? Let's say I build up. It's 88,000 or 8,800. Well, okay, we'll just speed this up for a bit. How much do I have? Yeah, I should start repaying the loan every once in a while. Perfect. Okay, so we got that. And let's delete these here. Alright, so you got Twisterworth that has a stop there. Can I get... Will the town let me do this? Oh, it does. Okay, thank you. So, because I eventually want to run a shuttle or something over there, so let's do this. Alright, and then this will be the last... This will be the, like, the last stop for, like, most trains. Alright, so do this, and do this. Because then eventually what I could do is, instead of a shuttle train, I could just make, like, a train that goes to, like, Sulkywick and travels along this line, and it only really services, like, this general area. Or, and then, like, there's other things I could do as well, like, I could have, like, train service that goes from, like, from Ferryton to Tickleworth, or, like, Tangleberg. Like, you can sort of just, like, spider it out, so to speak, so, like, things move around a little bit more efficiently this way. So, yeah, so we got a couple, so I think we have something really good going on here. So let's just get some switches going on here so the trains can pass each other, because one of the biggest flaws in trains is that you can't pass a train technically. Like, doesn't quite work that way. The other thing that is really beneficial to the way this is set up is we can do things like, how can I put it? Like, the way that the signals are set up on here, even though, like, predominantly I have set this up so the trains have like priority on certain sides. Excuse me. The trains won't necessarily stick to whichever direction. I want the trains to go this way on this top side, and on this bottom side I want, or like this right side, on the left side I want them to go this way. But it's not a hard set rule. The signals are fairly easy, I will admit. They're not necessarily difficult. The caveat to them is that they can get really obnoxious real fast. Like, all it is just pure logic. The thing that makes them a little bit frustrating is like these. What was the thing that pisses me off every time I played this, and then, like, it took me forever to understand. I'll have to come back to, like, what the way to describe this is, but, like, the semaphore system is, once you understand it forever. Like, it's not the worst thing. Let me see what we got here. So we got this train here. We're gonna make it so it goes to all the stations now. So it goes here. It goes here. It goes here, and it goes here. And I do want it to go non-stop, so we're gonna make it non-stop. No, and then... No, let's turn these off. I want them to go this way. And do service. Yes, okay. How much money do I have? I have 58,000 euro? Okay. Okay. So... it's waiting on a free path. Where is it waiting on a free path? It shouldn't be waiting on a... I guess it would be. Ooh, this is bad. This is bad music. Alright, let's change it. Let's try Holiday Island music. I have no idea what to expect from this soundtrack here. Uh-oh, we have a train broken down. Well, hopefully it gets, it makes it somewhere soon enough. And while I'm waiting for money to come in, I'm going to have myself some chocolate. A certain Tiki D, who's in chat, gave me some chocolate, along with her wife. Very good chocolate, by the way. I had to keep it at my desk, and it's been really good. I don't know if it'll show up on camera if I, like, flash it, but it's this one here. Oh, it does show up. Cool. All right, there we go. So you all get to see this, how do you say it, Siren chocolate. It's called a Tingo Maria. And like 73% dark chocolate, which I really like dark chocolate, by the way. Big dirty secret about me is that I really like dark chocolate. Really shouldn't consume a lot of chocolate because there's caffeine in it, but fuck it, I don't care. You're not taking chocolate away from me. Come on, give me enough money to build another train. Whoa, this is good chocolate. I really like chocolate, sorry. This is really good chocolate. Alright. I'm not really supposed to eat it. I still love it. I'm like, whatever, screw it. It's like, I have it every once in a while, I'll go get myself a London Fog. That's like one of my, like, small little joys that I get when I go to, like, this local bakery. They actually make London Fogs at the bakery. And, like, I like these little guilty pleasures, but you won't tell anyone? I appreciate you not telling anyone. It's extremely appreciated. I don't know who you'd rat on me to, like my physician. She's already told me, like, you know, like I have a terrible diet despite being vegetarian, so... Oh wait, I don't want to do this. Hold on a second here. I want to share orders. There we go. But yeah. Like, so I was in the hospital a couple years ago, and I was getting a checkup done by her, and, you know, we were chatting, and she was commenting that, like, about, like, some of the scores on, like, some tests that I had to have done. And she was like, you've fallen into the bread trap. You've fallen into the vegetarian trap of just eating bread all the time. And it's real. Like, vegetarian diets can be extremely unhealthy. And I've been a vegetarian for, like, you know, something like 5 years now. And, like, yeah, I've fallen into the bread trap every once in a while. And, like, don't get me wrong, I freaking love bread. But bread is delicious. I love baking it. But, like, I do know that I eat far too much for my own good. Potatoes, too. The thing about me and potatoes is I don't eat as many potatoes. You know, despite, you know, being Irish and that whole stereotype about us eating tons of potatoes, I don't eat that much. But yeah, I have fallen into the bread trap. The bread trap is real. But bread is tasty. It's just, it's too easy to love bread. All right, so now we have a functioning rail system here. We got a couple of things along the way of this spine. This is what I'll call a spine. We can actually have multiple spines, by the way. But we now have passenger service going from the two largest cities. So we have Dribblesburg here, and then we have Twisterworth here. Twisterworth is not going to be a terminus station, but it might be for this particular rail line. It's tough to say just yet. Because we got Ricketybury, we got Quackpool, and Rumbleworth over here, and they're all sizable little cities here. Oh, sorry, Twisterworth is not really the intended city, it's here. Oh, hey, look at that, we have oil now. Do I want to play the oil game just yet? How many platforms do we have? We have that one. So we just have one oil platform. That's the other thing about this game. Oil platforms that are in the water tend to only show up on the edge of the map. In fact, I think by default they are. And then oil refineries, which... oh, the one over here is gone. Okay. They tend to only show up on the edge of the map as well. So the one thing that's kind of important is, like, when you want to start working with oil in this game, you will have to build something that goes all the way out between these 2 points. Now we have an oil refiner here. We got this oil field here. Do we have any oil wells on the map? So we got a coal here. You know what? There's an easy way for us to find this stuff. So we can go to industries. And we can go to produce cargo. And we can take a look at oil. We don't have a lot of oil on this map. What a shame. But we got this here. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to do two things. One, there's passengers waiting on that on there. We're going to go and do something that I said that is going to produce some headaches economically. We're going to build an airport. How much money do I need to build this? Could you just imagine sending wood by air? Knowing this province, we would look into it. Do I want to build... I could just destroy the other side if I just wanted to. No, I do not want to build a separate station. Don't make me build a airport for... Well, let's see if we can do this here. No. I don't want to build a separate station. I want to integrate the stations. Okay, so we got that. So what we're going to do is... There is... So you can't build a helipad there, but what we can do is we can then go to... Oh, I should have built a... whatever. We can build a heliport here. In Jollyhead. So now Jollyhead has a helipad. And then what I want to do is I want to bring passengers from the oil platform. Hey, planes were once made out of wood. Like, you're absolutely... You're not saying anything too, like, provocative there, that's for sure. So can go here. And then, can I go? I can go to Twisterworth itself. Go to the hangar, so let's do service here. And then... Okay, so we're going to do this here, and we're going to call this... Oh god, I'm going to hate... We're going to call this... What's a terrible airline name? What was the airline called in Tailspin? Or can we use the one that was in the second to last season of Archer? When Archer was like, it was like sort of World War II, not JetBlue. Hey, look at that. We had our first positive year. So let's repay some loans here. We only owe 140,000 euro. What's the name of the airline in Tailspin? Jesus. What's the name of it? Yeah, I've never flown JetBlue, just for the record. Like, that's an American... I think JetBlue just started flying to Canada. Nonetheless, what was the name of it? Well, this... Okay, so I was looking this up here, and this is interesting. Apparently, the creator of Tailspin suggests that Porco Rosso took cues from Tailspin. I could believe it. Porco Rosso is a wonderful film, by the way. Or Porco Rosso, excuse me. Hey, Kira. Let's see. What was the name of the damn... Sea Duck. That's what it was called. Let's call it the Sea Duck Air. Let's call this Sea Duck Airlines. Sea Duck Airlines. That's what we're gonna call it. Even though technically, Sea Duck Airlines. I won't do that one. It makes sure I'm doing passengers only. Okay, cool. So we are. Now that we've done that, let's also do some sort of dock here. Ooh. Let's find out if we can do this. I have a really wild idea for this game. Can I pull this off? Sweet. Okay, this is going to make my life so much better. Okay, so what I've done is I linked up the dock here with this train station. So what I'm then going to do is I'm going to build an extra platform at this station, but I'm actually going to put... Let's plan ahead. Station 2 spread out. Oh, did I paint myself into a corner? Can I put one platform in? Can I put one platform in? You've got to be kidding me. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Okay, so let's get rid of this then. Alright. So... Well, alright, so... That sucks. What am I gonna do? Let's think about this. Carrie painted herself into a corner. That is what we've done. If... let me think about what I'm gonna do to unfuck this. I screwed up something here. Okay, I know what I'm gonna do. So, let's say I build 3 platforms here. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And then what I'm going to then do... This is really good music. This is, like, super chill. I'm really enjoying this. Kind of wishing I had a real MIDI device, though. It's a really sad... I 100% will tell you it is, and I will also tell you this, and here's the cool part. It's free. It's open source. So if you're looking for something just to, like... It's sort of like a game that you could just have run in the background and just chill out with. Like, if I'm like having a really, really, I want to say unpleasant day, but just a day where I'm just way too blah for my own good. This is something that I will load up and I will just sit in front of for a couple hours. You know, assuming that it's, you know, doable for me to, it's possible for me to do that. And it's comfortable, like, it's comfy. I will then also warn you that this game is also a huge time sink. And it's very easy to find yourself realizing that you've been playing this game for about, you know, 8 hours, and you were supposed to go grocery shopping, and it's now 9 o'clock. And that the grocery store closes at 10. And you are out of stuff to make cereal for the morning, and your then partner is a little upset with you because you promised her that you would go and do that. Tell me how tell me where I'm coming from on that. Tell me that I'm not making this up, right? Yeah, well, I actually did have the thought to play Ace Attorney 2 today, but I think I'm going to come back to that game post GDQ. I am going to do a good chunk of that. I am going to do the entire series. Like, it'll take a while to go through it. You might see me do something like another multi-hour marathon of it. I had way too much fun doing this, to say the least. Hey, Chaos. I need 67,000 euro. Okay, so let's blast right through. Fast forward a little bit. There we go. So let's do this, and this. All right. So when we go to the oil field, we are just going to do a full load of cargo. When we get to this station here, we are going to transfer. That's all we're going to do. And then we're going to get service done here. And then let's do that. And then we're going to call this Valdez Express. There we go. So now we have oil going here. Yeah, and the other thing is I figured out how to stream the iOS releases, which is great. A friend of mine did the iOS releases through an Android emulator. I'm just going to do it right off my Apple TV. I got a spare iPhone 8 that should run the game just fine. And then I determined that you can actually use a Bluetooth mouse in iOS. So I won't have to stare at a phone down looking like this the entire time, even though you can still see what I'm doing. So I already have that one sorted out. And then Great Ace Attorney, I think, is on Steam. If it's not, it's on Switch. So, like, whatever, I'll just get a copy of that. But I plan to start doing those games on weekends. Just because those games... okay, so if it's on Steam, then I can definitely just buy it that way. We'll see. So I'll do I'm going to complete the trilogy first, and then I'm going to figure out if I'm going to do the Edgeworth games first or I'm going to come back to those. I kind of want to work within all of the Phoenix Wright games, and then I want to do Great Ace Attorney. I really want to play Great Ace Attorney. I know how the game goes, I know the storyline, but like by the time I get to Great Ace Attorney, I feel like I'll be removed enough time wise from from seeing Author Blues play it that I should be able to enjoy it once again. And honest to goodness, the music in Great Ace Attorney is like freaking amazing. Like the second Edgeworth game hasn't. Okay, so like, okay, so this is what I'm gonna do then. If I have to, there with some exception, are any of the games like stuck on the DS? By the way, or like, are they DS only? Because that's something I would like to know for any other games that like require a little bit of. Is it Layton versus speed in this? Oh, I see. Oops, I made that a little too long. Okay. I had to play that one. So I don't own a 3DS, and especially I don't own a capture card for the 3DS as well. So that does produce a little bit of a problem for me. Do you accept goods? You do accept goods. Okay, cool. So this accepts goods. So let's build this up here. And this will be for passengers. Ooh, and then I got... Do I have to... Oh, I might have to... Let me think about this. Can I guess I'll put another platform here for later. Cool. So, you see this message here? I'm not allowed to do it. Do you want to... There's a little trick to getting around this. You can bribe them, or... you just keep building trees. And then that way, when you go and put the station platform back, they'll let you. That's all you have to do. If you cut down trees, just grow more trees, and then they'll, like, let you build another platform. Alright, so let's repay that loan while we're at it, and then let's build another train set for transporting goods. Yeah, okay, so like I will probably skip on that game, just because I would like to try and like play these games through legitimate means where possible. So yeah. Listen, you know, mild problems. It's no big deal. You just plant lots of trees. Reclaim nature. Alright, so we have this. This is going to be for... We have 2 trains. Oh, I need to also give this goods, right? I think that's what you get from this, so... You know what? 4 cars is fine. Let's call this... Island Energy. Here we go. I guess we'll call that. Island Energy Link. That's a good question. I don't know that offhand. Yeah, to tell you the truth, I don't know that one offhand. And I want to do a full load here. Okay, so I think we have sufficient resources to do this. So let's do this as well. Yeah, I know this game fairly well, but I wouldn't say, like, I know this, like the best? I don't know. It's hard to say. Alright, so this is going to produce goods. This train is waiting to... Oh, hold on a sec. There's a slight problem. Little hitch here. because I didn't expand this out. So we now get like high-speed trains, by the way. These are like these diesel turbine trains. Fun fact, they're actually highly unreliable in real life. Go look up the, what was it, the turbo train or whatever the hell it is. Like, they actually had these gas turbine trains that would go real fast, but there was two problems with it. Number one was that they were being used alongside freight, and you can kind of guess how bad that went. And number two, the other problem was that, like, there's only so many of these trains in the world. Oh, good. And as a result, like, they all, like, suffered, like, terrible fates. I think, like, they got into collisions. I don't think anyone died as a result, or at least nobody in the trains ever died. But in any event, yeah, we used to have, like, these weird sort of pseudo high-speed trains, and they only ran like between like Montreal and Toronto, and I think like New York's Amtrak had them or something like that. I don't know. These were before my time, but nonetheless, they're like these wild ass trains that like would just weren't super reliable. Hey, Derek. All right, so let's build another passenger service. What do we got? 40. Ooh, I gotta wait a bit here. So let's get some money. Maybe that's just to collect. Ooh, I should like run services from Twisterworth to... Come on, give me a... Here we go. Aircraft. How much are you? 61,000? Come on, give me an extra 1,000 euro. Alright, so we're gonna run you from this to this to here, and then to the... Let's put this here, and that's where you're gonna get service. And then I'm gonna put you in this group. I think you can actually run a ferry to these places, but don't quote me. And since I want some more oil, I'm hungry for oil. So I'm gonna put some buoys here, buoys. Build another. Do I have enough money for one? How much does it cost to get an oil tanker? 67,000 euro. What a bargain. All right. We're gonna go from here to here to here to here to here. Okay, so you got all that there. You're gonna do a full load here. And then you're gonna do a transfer, because that's all we're gonna do is just transfer. And then you get to go in this group. Alright, and that should be sufficient, so let's go collect some oil. Do we have any other oil platforms that have appeared in this game yet, or are they all, they're just these two here? So that's the reason why Jollyhead is very rich, because that's where all the oil people live. Alright, what do we got? 15,000 euro? Okay. So we got some... You can see here we're running into some problems with cash flow, so because it's not going up as fast as it should. What do we got? We got 2 train services here. What do we got? That train's going by. So what I want to do is I want to connect Sulkywick and Quackpool. So I'm guessing like I can just do a train service that loops around here. Maybe just have 2 trains that do this. So like one that goes to Quackpool and another train that goes to Rumbleworth. I guess we could do that. But then what I'll do is I'll build like a shuttle train that goes from Ferryton to Trickleworth, maybe? I think that could work. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. So, where are we at? 54,000 euro? Okay, so let's speed this up a bit, see if we can get some cash. So are we at 88,000? Okay, so we should be able to build some sort of rail service now using... Spend a little bit more and get a faster train, but like we don't really need to get there that fast. So what we're gonna do is go here, here. I'm gonna turn off this non-stop nonsense because it's just gonna become silly real fast. And then have you go to the depot whenever it needs service. So let's do service here, and then let's turn off this non-stop stuff. All right, and then we're gonna put this in with the island energy, no, the peninsula connector. That's what we're gonna call it. We'll make it part of the same service, I guess we could say. So you can hit start on that there. Hi, Luna. You know, if you sit in my lap, you can be on camera. Hey, don't do that. I'm telling you not to. You're very cute. I know it's like almost like 2 o'clock, and that's why you're bugging me, because you're hoping I'll make the feeder do something. She's just hungry. She's never fed, by the way. I've never fed this cat in my life. She has never seen a food. Poor thing, just wasting away. Luna? Luna, you gotta stop that. Stop that. You're making Mummy very upset. Here, let me do something for you. Maybe this will make you a little bit nicer. Oh, that made her run away. Okay, well, put that there. I was like, well, why don't you just sit in the little donut that you have that she tends to ignore for whatever freaking reason. Anyway, so let's start building this up here. What do we have? 40,000. So we should be able to build like a little terminus station here. Let's clear this out a little bit. Perfect. Can I... Let me think about this here. Was that a good decision? Let me think about this. I think we could do this. What do we got here? We got... Okay, so the city would let me do that. Okay, so let's flatten this out. Oh, that's still not going to be good enough. Shoot. Let me think here. Okay, no, I have a better idea. Let's see if the city will permit me to do this. Okay, so now the city's pissed at me. Okay, so let's do this. And then the city should let me permit... Yes, okay, cool. Now I can destroy a road. So let's... No, trains, planes, and automobiles. We're doing all... Well, I haven't done roads just yet. Edgeworth? Where do you see Edgeworth? I'm extremely confused over the Edgeworth comment there, RBW. Like, Edgeworth will make a return to this channel eventually. I liked Edgeworth. I honestly enjoyed the hell out of Monday's 12-hour, 53-minute stream, or whatever it was at the end. I think it was 12 hours and 53 minutes. I definitely will say that if I ever do a stream like that again, I'll be a little bit better prepared. Like, I was super fucking tired yesterday from that, even though, like, I had a day off. Like, I felt like I really spent a lot of, like, I really borrowed a lot of energy from my small energy. Yeah, and you know what? So, like, when I went to bed that night, I straight up said to myself, "It's like and I said this on stream too, actually, but like, there was just no way that I was not going to let myself not finish that case. Like, I had no reason to stop, other than being exhausted, and the outcome of that case was just far too interesting for me to ignore. Like, I had to know what the hell was going to happen. I had to know what the outcome was. I had to know why this happened. Like, everything about that case was just super fascinating to me. And, like, I normally never do streams that long. Like, I think up until that point, the longest stream I ever had was, like, 7 hours. I went to go check this out, and the longest stream I ever had was 7 hours, and that was um, sometime in 2020. And I don't remember what it was for, but I did have something to point that out. And Cégep. Is Cégep still a thing, by the way? So I definitely am quite happy that I did this. And I definitely will say that I will probably end up doing another marathon or run of a game at some point in the future. But I will be, as I said, a lot more prepared for it the next time around. And it will never, ever be if I have to be at work the next day, because that's just not practical. CEGEP is still a thing. Yeah, we never had anything like CEGEP or the Ontario. Ontario used to have a grade 13, right? So, you know, like once the grade 12 came around, that was it. I was off to university if I wanted to. And I didn't even go to university immediately. I took like a semester off and then eventually tried to do a degree to that I eventually never really finished. So now I'm back in university at the age of 37. But yeah, like I said, like I'm super stoked to do another playthrough of another Ace Attorney game, and I will do number 2. Like I said, probably after AGDQ is over. The thought I have in my mind right now is maybe the Sunday after AGDQ. What do you mean there's no... Oh, I see. The Sunday after AGDQ, I might do it. We'll see. Because I am helping out during AGDQ this year. But I also don't know if I'll bother streaming that week. I might do a stream that week. Maybe I might do an episode of one of the Ace Attorney games. We'll see. I'm a little bit all over the map with respect to how I want to do it because I do have some other content that I would like to do as well. There's some other things I'm discussed doing with yeah. Okay, well, I'm excited for this nonetheless. Like I very much would like to play more of the Ace Attorney games. So if you're telling me that there's something in the third game that's gonna like be downright hilarious, I'm looking forward to it. I very much like I like a good, I do like a good twist in a game if there's like a very good twist in it. I semi know the stories from the iOS mobile releases. So yeah. So here we go. So let's do this here. We're gonna build. Really? Okay. All right. So we're gonna build some more. Oh, I need 70,000 euro. Okay. I already know the ending to all of this, but like I want to do it myself just so I can at least enjoy the just so I can enjoy it. There I will say this, one of the things that really bothered me about like, hey, look at that. Did I have a positive year? I had a positive year. Cool. What was I going to do? Right, I was going to buy a train. So I got this, and I want some passenger cars up to 5. There we go. Let's do this. You're not going nonstop. You're going to go all the way to Sillywick. None of this nonstop stuff. Alright, so we got this. Put this into its own little queue here. You know, when I was thinking about this when I was having some lunch earlier, it's like, could I actually make this game interact like with Twitch chat somehow? I haven't really figured this out. Um, but if anyone has some ideas, I'm all ears. We can't do that. We can't do that. That's SimCity, my friend. That is SimCity. I imagine that maybe SimCity 2000 Network Edition, you might be able to do something with that. If you wanted to like come up with a game that could permit that, but yeah, you can't do that in this game. So I got a coal plant here. Do I have any power? That's interesting. What did your OpenTTD bot do there, Tiki? Okay, so I don't think we have... Like, there's a coal plant here. I'm not gonna lie, it looks like a nightmare to build a rail line to. Like, you kind of have to loop around here, and you got this mountain. And, like, there's no real sensible way to get over there. So, like, these two power plants, I'm just gonna let them rot. Is it a milk toast of a character like Pain? Or what was the character in Great Ace Attorney when you had to deal with like the weakling prosecutor who had like the most obnoxious objection I've ever heard in a game? Or in the games I'm familiar with. Oh, what was his name? Yeah, Ouchie. Ouchie pissed me. Ouchie is milk toast, as is Pain. Pain and Ouchie are both milk toast. Like, I'm sorry. They are just like I'm trying to be nice about them. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know about the second game prosecutor, so I don't have a comment to that one. Hey, how much oil is sitting here? 497,000. Okay, so let's fix that up a bit here. How much money do I have? 72,000. Okay, so let's put this into place here. Make this one track. Oh, this is... Let me think about this here. The second game prosecutor. The tutorial guy. Yeah, the tutorial guy is just... leave me alone. I don't want to hear from you. He's... But, like, I understand the importance of the character. Like, why they're there and all that stuff, but... You still end up getting annoyed by it. You're just like, please shut up. I don't want to hear you. All right, so we have 2 trains going here. I'll build another train that goes out to Quackpool. And then what I'll then do is maybe build, like, maybe a train here. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do here is we'll do something like this. Yeah, Meekins' feedback is... Like, I can handle hearing feedback. It was just... I was getting so sick and tired of Meekins that, like, I was just like... Could I just, like, not have to hear you again? But... I don't need to hear Meekins again, so we're good. Rickety Berry does not want to build anything. Ugh, I might have to wait, because there's a couple things I could do to make them listen, but I also don't want to destroy farmland in the process. Alright, so we can't do anything there. Oh, I know. Oh, I know he won't be the last annoying character. The whole point of the game is to have someone more annoying than Larry, so you don't end up wanting to throw Larry in jail. Because it's tempting to throw Larry in jail, but you start to realize that Larry is actually useful to you. Even though he's, like, pretty fucking annoying. And that's fine. That's your prerogative if you want to throw him in jail. Like, I won't stop you, but I don't think it's necessary when it comes to him. Okay, so what do we got here? We got a factory here. If it smells, it's the butts. Exactly. Larry is just obnoxious. Okay, so I can't do anything. I don't want to do any more passenger service except for the one for Quackpool. Well, what I do want to do is I wanted to get there's a mine here. And then there's a steel smelter here, or steel mill, they call it in this. Ooh, I got another oil field here. Well then, let me think about this here. Could I, how would I get oil to Trickleworth? What's the best way to get oil to there? I have a wild idea. Why don't I build... You gotta be kidding me. Are you kidding me? Okay, so that sucks. So now that I don't have... Okay, so let's go to the Island Energy Link, and we're gonna stop all these trains, because now they're not making me any money. Because the damn refinery is gone. So where is there another refinery on this map? Where is there another refinery? I might have to go and check with the... Are there no No, that can't be the case. There has to be a refinery. Let's go to... What's this button here? Alright, accepted cargo. Oil. Where are you? You're all the way... You've got to be kidding me. You're all the way down there. You are all the way down there. That sucks. What do we do about this? So, the idea that I have right now... What do I have? 121,000 euro. What does it look like to get there? So you're on top of a hill. Of course you would be. Of course you'd be on top of a hill. Why wouldn't you be? What do we got here? We got this river. We got this river. What I could do is take the oil that's being delivered from Jolly Head and have them be transferred all the way down to Cocklewick. And then there's two things I could do. I can run the fuel, like this transport, across to here. And that would do a transfer point. And then build a rail all the way over here. That sucks. How much is it going to cost me to build an industry? I think that might be a better idea. So if I fund a new industry, how much will it cost me for all? It's probably going to cost me like 1.4 million euro. That's a better option, I feel like, in terms of like time. So why don't I send you to... I'm gonna send you to there. And I'm just gonna send you to the depots for now. And then I'm gonna figure out where I can get the money right now to build this. Hi, I know you're fed. You're probably a little bit happier with me right now. Hey. Okay, so I think that's what we're gonna have to do, is I'm gonna have to fund the industry. And then start... Yeah, this sucks. Like, the only other idea I have right now is to turn this area here into a refinery. So let's see if we can do this. I need to get it to, where did it say I needed to get to it? To make an oil refinery, I need 1.4 million euro. Okay, so I got 410,000 euro. Okay, I'm gonna let this run for a sec. I'm gonna grab myself a drink here because I just ran out. We'll see if we can get ourselves to 1 point whatever million euro. That might actually do the job there. Hi. Puppy. Alright, where are we at? Alright, so we're at 1 million euro. So let's see. Like, we have a positive cash flow. It's not really doing like super well, but it's doing well enough. So we just need another. I bet you this goes up over time too. Alright, come on, get up to 1.429 million. And then I resolve my problems. Okay, come on, it's a little bit higher. There we go. So that's been built, and now I'm like... Let's see here, does it accept oil? It accepts oil. So let's change the rules a little bit here. And then let's not do a transfer. Just unload and leave empty. So that's the new rule for you. And then for you, it'll be unload. And then for this train, I think it's in the depot right now. There you are. You are then going to go, I'm going to delete this and change this up. How am I going to do this? I could destroy that. Who cares about football? Apparently the city does. Alright. So let's... how am I going to do this? Oh, that's fine. They always unlock. It might be... Yes. It might be the high-speed trains. What year is it now? It's 1984. There would be high-speed trains. It's probably the high-speed train. No, it's not. Probably a plane then. Yeah, you can get a train that goes 200 kilometers an hour now. You wouldn't foot a ball? I don't know. I'm not much for football. Let me think about this. Do I want to build like... Okay, there we go. There's the electric, high-speed electric train, the TIM. Yikes. Let's do this here instead. So the Jollyhead Central will always be for dropping off oil. I am going to build a new station, I guess. I guess that's what I'll do. Okay, so this will have 2 platforms here. And then what I can then do is this. All right, I think that resolves my little conundrum here. So this will be in charge of sending goods or whatever all over the freaking place. And then what I can do some little fancy no, I don't want to do that because that's gonna clog shit up, won't it? How are we gonna do this the sensible way? So like one of the big challenges with this game is that it's very easy to paint yourself into a corner, just like I've done here. Can't start it. What do you need? Oh, I selected a bridge, which we haven't touched any bridges yet in this game. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. Jollyhead Central is now strictly for oil being delivered. Jollyhead South is strictly for sending goods to wherever. We can deliver... Who accepts goods? Well, you only accept mail. Fiddleberry, do you want goods? You want goods. But you know what? Here's a little trick about this game. You want to actually send stuff as far away as possible. So what I'm going to do with this train is you are going to go to here, here, and here. Let me reorder this so it makes sense. You're going to get service here. You're going to do a full load at this depot here. I'm going to put this before there because that makes more sense. You are going to go to Fiddleberry here. You're not going to go there, and you're not going to go there. So there's going to be 3 orders in this train. It's going to go non-stop to there. So whatever's along the way, it's just going to stop there. So I won't even stop in Jollyhead. It will go to the depot here, which is the... Not this one there. Where is it? Are there no trains inside of there? There we go. So that is the correct depot. Okay, great. So let's do this here. Send you over there. Now we can send goods wherever the hell we want to send them. Jollyhead does take goods. They have a lot of passengers waiting, and they have a lot of mail. So this is one of the little problems that comes with running an airport. I believe that's the reason why it's saying that. Are you? Oh, jeez. Okay, so it's going to go all the way over there. Fine, I guess. Are you doing a full load at this station? Yeah, okay, so you will do a full load at that station. And then here... Okay, so this just started deteriorating. Whenever you get, like, stuff transferred, I believe it eventually times out, or it just expires, deteriorates, whatever. Yeah, that's basically all what we're working with here. So we have all these oil platforms here. Let's work with this one here. We already have the Soliwick oil field. I wonder if I can get away with building a helipad here now. Yes, we can. Hold on a sec. If I go here, helicopter airport, can I get away with building? Will the city let me? Must remove road first. Is there a road there? I guess there is. Whatever. I can still build the helipad. So now we have that. We can go between the oil field. Apparently oh, that's right, because I built that little, whoops. Don't fly anywhere, please. Alright, we'll get surface here. There we go. And then that can go inside of the Sea Dock Airlines. That's what we're going to call it. So now there's service there, but then we have another problem. We have this oil field here. There's 2 ways that I could bring the oil to Jollyhead. I'm going to say this straight up. The train is going to be faster to bring the oil to where it needs to go. So let's build... Where are you going? Oh, I see. It's just the animation. So let's do 2 things here. One, put this signal here. Build that. And then let's build this all the way over here. No, let's do this instead. I think it'll all fit here. Unfortunately, I am... Oh, yeah. See, Soliwick doesn't want me to build this. But... But. Enjoy the trees. And they should let me do it now. There we go. Look at that. Just build trees. Not getting your way as city council, plant tons of trees. And then you'll get your way. Alright, so build the dock, and then let's build ourselves a ship depot. Do the same thing here. Oil tanker. And then we can just set it up to go here, here, and here. This will do a full load here. When it gets to Lakeside, it'll do a transfer. And then we'll put this in the Valdez Express. We'll turn this on. Cool, there we go. Now, we actually have an extra oil car, so what we can do... It's just sitting all the way out here in Jollyhead Central. So we're going to make some new jobs for it. And what we'll do is this, and this. But one little thing here is I'm going to switch this over so it does get service. It does get service. Nope. Service. And then when it gets to Soliwick, we're again full load. And that way we're making like the most of its time. Because like trains that are like half full, like again, like they just burn up money. I'm also like running a monopoly here, so like there's a reason why I'm getting away with all this stuff, because who's my competition? Nobody's building airplanes yet. I could add a bot in this, but like I find that the AI in this game, if you load like one of the AI scripts, they get a little like funny and they're like never properly balanced. I'm gonna have another bite of chocolate. Oh, so good. I also have this chocolate too. It's like a maple smoked salt and rosemary. Hard to believe. All right. What do you mean? What's going on here? With, oh, right, because we don't have a bypass. So, like, this is the slight problem that comes with this game, is that the cities will want to grow, right? And that's a good thing. You do want the cities to grow because it means that, you know, you can get more passengers, more goods to them, that sort of thing. The downside, of course, is that the game will want to like build in inconvenient ways. So like they just built like this bridge over my train line here, and that's great for the cars if you decide to like run trucks or whatever, but it becomes obnoxious if you're trying to expand the station and then the city is like, no, we don't want you to do anything. Hey Liz. Yeah, trains. So we don't really want to bother with that. So where's this train going? Ah, it's going to Soliwick. So we got a lot of oil here. How much oil's waiting here? 232,000 liters? Jesus. So Philberry's growing along too. Aw, RBW, thanks so much for the gift sub to Liz there. Enjoy the emotes. Liz, I had fun playing this with you the last time, by the way. Except, Auth had to go and build airports. I think I eventually caved and then went and did airports too. Alright, so now that we've done that, we got a ton of stuff going this way. What can we do? What can we do to make this more interesting? How about we build high-speed trains? Very fast trains. Let's build our first high-speed train. This will be kind of done piecemeal. Oh wait, I don't have the rights to that train just yet, so I gotta wait another year. Okay. So here's the thing about high-speed rail that most people seem to overlook. So you can't just like run high-speed rail on just any tracks. And the reason for that is that, well, it's quite obvious. Look at all the congestion here, right? All these trains are waiting to get into Jollyhead. I am going to change a couple of things here with some of these trains. But the thing is you can't pass a train, right? Unless you have sidings and all this other stuff. Because it's linear, it's all linear, right? Like, that's literally what's happening here. So, the short of this is like, typically if you want to do high-speed rail, you kind of have to build new rail to do it. Or at the very least, you sort of have to expand your existing rail lines to support it. So if there's anything like local passenger service or freight service on there that they can pass. And that's why it's like prohibitively expensive to go and do this sort of thing. But it happens, you know, like you get like all these politicians that come along. It's like, yeah, we want to have high-speed rail and all this stuff, and like it's all fine and good, but like you run into the problem that you kind of have to build the infrastructure to do it, and if you don't build the infrastructure, then it's not really high speed anymore. It's just like very fast, capable trains at best. So in any event, that's just a slight little rant I have about high-speed rail whenever I hear people talking about it. It's like they want to build like a high-speed rail between like Vancouver, Seattle, and Portland. And like, that's all good. I actually support something like that. I think that's a great idea. The problem is, though, is that you have to build new tracks. It's mountainous here, like maybe the sections between Vancouver and like the sections between here, between Vancouver and Seattle aren't so bad. Like there's only really one mountainous section. But then like once you get south of Seattle, like you got a lot to deal with, I guess. In any event, I don't really understand. I don't know. I have a lot of mixed feelings about the idea of building high-speed rail between our two cities. That said, I will say that um, um, it's. I would love to see high-speed rail between Vancouver and Seattle. No, I agree. I freaking hate highway expansion. I will never, ever, ever go on record saying I support highway expansion. Um, because we're not going to get rid of cars overnight, I'm okay with like improving our highways so they're safer, or that, you know, like they're not going to collapse into a river. But like, I really don't see the point in like turning a 4-lane freeway into an 8-lane freeway when that same amount of money is going to be much more efficiently spent on something like, I don't know, like some sort of regional rail. Like the regional rail has its own curse for that matter too. Like, you know, like it's not a panacea because like you still have to contend with the potential further expansion of suburbia and all this stuff here. So like it's not to say that, oh, build rail and we solve our problems. It's more like build rail and you get people out of cars, and then maybe you can start building more sensible you know, suburbs, you know. Like, I don't even think we're gonna get rid of suburbs anytime soon. And Amtrak's problem is that it was like, I have read into the birth of Amtrak. Amtrak is like, I have ridden Amtrak on a couple of occasions. It's not terrible. The problem is that it's like a lot of government programs in North America that are providing, you know, like public transport. They don't get enough funding to do what they need to do, and then the leadership that they get just doesn't work. Like Amtrak's biggest problem when it was formed, from what I understand, was that it took over from all these defunct railways in the Northeast Corridor and all that stuff. Like I think is it Penn Rail or whatever the hell you call it? Like, I read into this ages ago, and it's just like Amtrak was kind of set up to sort of fail because it was sort of intended to like, what was it? What did they call it? I think it was called like Conrail was like what the idea was like. God, this is stuff that I don't know. I don't really pay attention to rail politics. I just know that like there was like a lot of shit that happened and it shouldn't have happened the way it did, but it did because North America and Canada's not excluded from this, so don't ever think that I have zero opinions on Canadian rail transport politics because holy shit is Canada's history ever wrapped around all this crap. But what I will say is that Amtrak was set up to fail. And the fact that it's managed to survive, what, 35, 40 years is 50 years? Because what, was it the 70s or something like that when it was formed? The fact that it's still around and actually runs like some sort of high-speed rail. Like I stood on a platform as an Acela train went by and that's cool. 1971, so there we go. So we're looking at, 50 years now. Like I've ridden high-speed rail. I've ridden high-speed rail in Europe and like it's amazing. Like I honestly hate flying because of having ridden like high-speed trains in Europe. Like just the fact that like I can board a train in the middle of London and end up in the middle of Paris, a city I do not like. I fucking hate Paris. Sorry if you love Paris, I'm sorry. I just hate that city so much. But like the fact that you can end up in the middle of the city center in actually I wouldn't say that. I think you're on like you're like on the outskirts of the city center, but this is Europe. The fact that you can just board in London and be out in the middle of Paris is impressive. Yay, good for you, Lizzie. And that's the way it should be. Like when I rode Amtrak from I've ridden Amtrak from Vancouver to Seattle before, and it's a slow process. It's 4 hours. I can drive to Seattle faster than I can take Amtrak to Seattle. But here's the thing about it: one, it's comfortable. Two, when you get off the train, you're in the middle of downtown Vancouver or downtown Seattle. And three, here's the big one. You have mobile phone service the entire time and Wi-Fi. And if you want to go get up and walk around, you totally can. You can go get a drink from like from the service car, have dinner on the train, and you don't have to worry about like, dealing with like air turbulence. Yeah, exactly. Like I was looking to go to Washington D.C. at the end of 2019 for a conference, right? And I was going to go and take a train from Washington D.C. to New York to go visit some friends and family. I have some friends and family who live in New York and New Jersey, and the thing about that, unfortunately, it was canceled because of something came up at work, and I had to completely redo everything. But the thing about that was that like that was my plan. Like I was gonna go to this work thing, spend I think it was like 4 or 5 days in Washington D.C. for this usual conference I go to, and then just go up to New York, go visit my relatives and a friend of mine up there, and then just fly back from New York. Like I wouldn't take a train back home from there. Like a train from New York City to Vancouver would be like you take a train to like Toronto and then take a train from Toronto to Vancouver. Like that's what 8-9 days of travel right there, because for now it's not really practical to build high-speed rail from Toronto to Vancouver. But it was an option, and there are a lot of places in the United States where you could totally build like reasonable services like this. Like you have Dallas to Houston getting high-speed rail. California is supposedly getting high-speed rail. I have no idea what's going on with that. And like I said, like I'm not really that big into like what's the term? Was it called rail fanning or something like that? Like that's not my thing. But like I'm aware of what the hell's going on, and like yeah, like it's just bananas. I've driven on the 401, and that highway is... I don't understand how no one in Toronto hasn't become murderous. Yeah, fuck Elon Musk. yeah, his death tunnel that you can't even open the car doors in. Oh, look at that. We have no more no more of that there. Interesting. Anyway. But yeah, fuck Elon Musk. I don't give a shit about that man. I hope that he takes a rocket into space and doesn't come back. Like, go live on Mars. Go figure out what life is like on Mars. Maybe your life will finally become difficult for you. Let's see here. I just like the country that I've ridden the most on trains, oddly enough, is Belgium. I was staying in Brussels, and I did a lot of rail travel when I was there. Like, it was just comfortable. Like, there's like 3 major rail stations in the middle of Brussels, and then I went up to Ghent on one of the occasions, and like even like though like the Ghent rail station was like on the edge of town. I'm gonna build something out this way. Um, it was pleasant. Like, Ghent is a really pretty city, by the way. I would say that like that was the highlight of my trip to Belgium. But what? What do you mean you have different rail gauges? Like, where has different rail gauges? Europe and North America have the same rail gauge with some exception. I don't quite get what you mean by that. Like, rail gauges differ. No, that's not the case. So North America, for the most part, has a largely stat. No, that is definitely not the case. Um, so, and I'm 100% positive about this. So, passenger rail and freight rail run on the same gauge all over North America, with one exception. And there is a railway in Alaska that uses a different rail gauge. That's it. And that rail gauge, and that train that runs in Alaska, to the best of my knowledge, is really just like, it's disconnected from like everywhere in the world. Like, I don't even think like Canadian Pacific or National goes up there, but that's definitely not the case. Now here's where where you might have been misled, and that is like with a metro system, the rail gauge might be different, and that will be the case in a lot of situations. So like, an easy example is or a lot of streetcars will run on different rail gauges. I don't know about any in the United States, but the Toronto streetcar uses its own special rail gauge. In the Bay Area, where you have, what do you call it, the BART, I do know that has its own rail gauge that is, oddly enough, the same rail gauge as high-speed rail in Japan, what I understand. I don't know why that specific gauge. I don't know how the gauges are chosen, but that's just something that is the case. Um, but like, yeah, there nowhere in North America that is like you would say is like standard non-metro rail, with the exception of this one rail line in Alaska, runs on a gauge that is different. Um, Standard gauge, which is what you see in North America and in Europe and in a lot of other places, is the norm. So not certain where you got that information from, but that's most definitely not the case these days. Um, and like, even having different rail gauges isn't really like necessarily a crime for building your own rail service. Like there's lots of things you can do to deal with it, and truthfully, like for high speed rail, like you kind of want separate tracks anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Um, the only time that I think it would matter to have that as a concern is like, say like you're like the Toronto, what do you call it? Was it Metrolinx? I think they call it. Like, you go and buy up the old rail lines that used to belong to CN that go through downtown Toronto. Okay, there's an example right there. That could become an issue. But even then, like, that's like a non-issue overall. Like, cause like I just don't see that being an issue. The big problem that the freight lines have, though, and and this does present like a huge infrastructure challenge for anyone, is that a lot of the rail lines that go across North America in general are single tracked, and there's that's something that is actually a legitimate problem. So like you can't just like build a rail line that takes, like, let me think about this here. Like you can't just go and build tons of rail. um let me think about this, because it's like, again, like I'm not that big on railways, but like I just know quite a bit from having read enough books on this matter. Having passing or the ability to dual track stuff is actually really important for effective passenger service, because like you could have breakdowns, you could have a need to run special services. I don't know, like there's all sorts of reasons why you might want to do it. um but all I know about a train, oh, I like trains too, and that's what I like about it. I like trains because I like them. um what I do know about, let me think about this, sorry. Like, the problem is like if you go and start running passenger services, you have to compete with freight lines, and that's kind of where the passing issue comes up. Like, if you're just running solely passenger services, you probably could just get away with keeping single tracks for most of it and just keep upgrading it piecemeal. But if you're like intermixing with like all these passenger services, like, yeah, you're never going to like be able to offer like effective service, because you're kind of having to compete with these big ass trains that are like, and I hate to say it this way, but like people cost, like, per passenger mile, people cost more to move than sometimes goods. Like, because you can run like these super long, like 2-3 kilometer trains, um, and like, yeah, that they will just be. You're just kind of hampered by the fact that you can't. Let me think about this. You're going to be hampered by your inability to turn a profit, which is where we come back to the whole thing about Amtrak kind of being. Oh, actually, I don't want to use these. Where we come back to the whole problem with Amtrak and the way it's run. It's expected to turn a profit, and I really hate the fact that we look at like at transit systems um, and like any of these sort of public good services as anything but a public good. We go and say like, no, it has to make money, and there are very few transit services in the world that have like, what do they call it? It's like it's like called like a turnstile revenue thing. I can't remember how what the like, it's something like where they like make money at like by selling train tickets, right? And like I think like the London Underground is like the only example of a service in the world that successfully manages to um like make the majority of its income from from its own, like, from its customers. And that's it. There's not, that list is extremely short. So like I hate the fact that like that's used as a metric for determining whether or not the service is worthwhile. And like a good example of it's why it's complete shit is because if you look at the New York subway, for example, its success wasn't measured in how it in like in how it moved passengers around and how much money it made. Its success was measured in being able to actually build New York City. Like, you look at how New York City um developed as a city, and everything was centered around where all those rail lines were going. You take a look at all the rail lines that went all the way out to like I don't know, like, I don't know how far out the New York subway system goes, but I know it goes like some absurd distance. Like, I don't know, like one line is like what, 100 kilometers or something like that. But yeah, New York City is New York City because they built the rail lines ahead of where the development is. If you go look at old photos of New York City from like the 1910s, 1920s, 1930s, and you'll see photos of like the city spreading up, like having these elevated rail lines in like what was then like, Queens or Brooklyn or something like that, and there's nothing around it, but there's a station sitting there. And now if you look at that same spot, there's like homes and businesses and I guess a lousy baseball stadium in one case, and that is why building these services makes sense. Like you don't see that with freeways. You just see sprawl and nothing at all culturally significant. Like if I leave my part of Vancouver, which is kind of in an urban sprawl area, but like realistically it's still dense, and I go into and if anyone is local and is going to listen to me, don't take this wrong way, but like there's nothing of cultural significance out in Surrey that like will drive people to be interested in from a historical purpose. There are interesting things out there, but like you go into Vancouver, into the city, and all the things of cultural significance, colonialism aside, are interesting. And the only thing that's interesting once you leave the city that's of cultural interest, like, is all nature, which is fine. And like, yeah, USPS, like postal services, are example. Canada Post suffered the exact same shit when the Tories were running the country for a while. They wanted Canada Post to make a profit. It makes absolutely no sense in my head for a postal agency to make a profit. If they wanted Canada Post to actually make money, they could have done the sensible thing and actually designed or allowed Canada Post to do banking. I'm not getting into that rant because finance is not my specialty. But the point being is that like we I don't know. I find this whole desire to have every single government service make a profit is like one of the most disgusting things that we as a society have ever done, and I have no idea if it'll ever get better. I don't like the idea that the postal service needs to turn a profit is just fucking ridiculous. Like that's the nicest way I'll put it, because the fact that Canada Post was a crown agency, so a crown corporation. A crown corporation's not intended to make money, and I can actually circle back to trains about this in a second here, because there's a very good example in this country about this shit. The whole point of a crown corporation is to not make money, but to actually to provide a service where private interests will not want to come in. If you want to circle back to trains, exactly. If you want to turn a profit, that's what taxes are for. But then, taxes are another problem. In British Columbia, there used to be an actual rail company called BC Rail, and its job was to actually was to provide rail service to parts of the province of British Columbia that would probably not be like, how can I put it? Like, just wouldn't be well served by like Canadian National or Canadian Pacific, so CN and CP, who both, at least with Canadian Pacific, I think Canadian National as well, were both subjects of the crown at one point. But that's just it. Like, this whole notion that like these companies must turn a profit or they must be sold off is just preposterous. It drives me up the wall. Like, I can talk about like, all sorts of things that bother me about like just the fact that we decided to make these companies in the first place, but like it's the same thing with like all sorts of other things that have been sold off by previous governments. Another example would be BC Ferries. If you're familiar with the geography here, we sit on an ocean, but there's a giant island off to the west of me, and there's no bridge there. There's been discussions of building a bridge to Vancouver Island for decades, a century. Problem is like the water is like extremely deep. We are in a seismically active area, and we also have tons of shipping. And there are ways for us to build a bridge, but then like if for it to actually be economically feasible, they'd have to charge an absurd toll charge on it that would exceed the cost of a ferry. So, like they said something like, I think back in 1999 when they did another study, it was like going to be like $200 each way. That's $200 in 1999 money. So you're looking at what, $350, something like that. So BC Ferries is our link to the Vancouver Island and these other islands that we call Gulf Islands, and there's a term for the islands that are to the north in the Salish Sea, and Discovery Islands, that's what we call them. And the government at the time was bothered by the fact, and this is again coming back to the whole idea about not understanding what a fucking public good is, that BC Ferries was never turning a profit. But here's the thing. Why did it need to turn a profit? And because two things. One, the only way that you can get to the island short of taking a plane is to take a boat, i.e. the service is offered by BC Ferries. You can drive your car onto the ferry and get across the water and then drive off the ferry and then drive wherever the hell you need to go on the island. Or you can just like take a bus to the ferry terminal. Ideally, it would be nice if there were trains, but whatever. And then, walk on the ferry, and it's like $7 or something. Take a car on the ferry, it's like $70 plus, $7 per person or something like that. So you can easily make that $100 trip. But that's, that's how much it costs. But the government at the time was like, well, no, this is not profitable. We should make this a private company. So what the government decided to do was they decided to go and make the company private. And it's sort of private in the sense that the government is still the majority shareholder of the company. So it's like 99% control or something silly like that. But the way they rigged this all up was that it no longer was a crown corporation, but it was like its own separate entity. It was completely stupid. I don't want to use that word, but like there's just nothing there's no sensible way for me to describe like how asinine of a decision that was. And the funny thing is, it's technically, sorry, no, not technically, but the company is still like, the company still is private despite the current government. But like all it did was it just sort of like made the service kind of like shit, and like in the sense that like, oh, we gotta go and up the fuel charges this year because we won't be able to like meet our performance goals or some nonsense like that. It was just ridiculous. But what it really boils down to is, like this government, and it's really like this neoliberal desire to always have a profit no matter what. Like if you're not making a profit, then you're doing it wrong. And it's like, this is a crown corporation. It is intended to be a public good. Why does it need to turn a fucking profit? So like the thing that makes this ridiculous is that like it is an extension of the highway system, and the government may try and weasel the way out of it, but like you drive into a BC ferry at like Horseshoe Bay, or you drive onto it from Tsawwassen, and if you go to Tsawwassen, you got to take a highway marked as Highway 17. To get to Horseshoe Bay, you got to take Highway 1. When you take a ferry from Horseshoe Bay to Nanaimo on the other end, that is still Highway 1. If you take a highway from Tsawwassen to... I'm amazed that web caption is spelling Tsawwassen correctly. How about Tsawwassen? Did they say that right? Tsawwassen? They don't actually do it... So there's an incorrect way to say it, but so from Tsawwassen, you end up in Swartz Bay, and guess what? You're on Highway 17 again. So it's an extension of the highway. The numbers stay the same no matter what, right? But the government doesn't see it that way. Even though, we have highway numbers that match and all this stuff. And to make this even more ridiculous, that sitting government, when the ferry system was eventually privatized, they eventually removed tolls on a highway that links the interior of the province to Vancouver, saying we shouldn't be tolling this road, it's been tolled for years. Meanwhile, they just went and sold off the ferry service, which is an extension of the highways to the island. It's one thing to charge people to take the ferries. I actually don't take exception to that because yes, you know, it's different, but like it's not that different that they had to go and sell off the damn thing. So in any event, like I've always found it asinine that we did this as that this government at the time did this, and like they sold off BC Rail and they sold it off to CN for like a 999-year lease, um, and that lease will be up in another 970 years or something ridiculous like that. And like it's just like all this money was sunk into BC Rail, a service that, you know, like provided passenger rail service to parts of the province that, you know, don't really have full access to the mainland and all the areas that actually have tons of money. Blah 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 blah. And meanwhile, like we had our biggest storm, you know, in a century take out that highway I mentioned earlier that has tolls removed. And like it's just, I don't know, it's just frustrating because every time I think about this, it's like, why did we do this? Like, why did we go and take a perfectly functioning service and just completely ruin it because we have this brain dead notion that we should turn a profit at any cost? Like, I understand there's a need to be sustainable, like you need to make certain that the service will run optimally and all that sort of stuff. But it was just ridiculous. So in any event, this game here it kind of will demonstrate a lot about the politics around engineering. Engineering is politics. Anyone ever tells you that building a railway or rapid transit is not politics, is they're lying. This is OpenTTD. It's a open source version of Transport Tycoon. It is actually built on the same engine as our Roller Coaster Tycoon, by the way. So a lot of the design elements are in the two games are in TTD. What was I going to call? What am I going to call this one? We're going to call this, I don't know, Lake. We'll call this the Lake Connector. No, we already have a connector. Let's call this Lakeside. Let's call it Lakeside Railways. Let's call it Lakeside Railways. Yeah, exactly. So in any event, I have a so the thing about me is like I'm not super big on rail transportation, like from a like, oh god, this is a certain model of train. Like I only know the trains that go by, and like I live next to the train tracks, like the trains that go by my home. I know what they are. I don't really know anything about trains that go on heavy rail other than like I think I know one train model ever, and I think it's like an F40PH, and I only know that from like some meme. Anyway, in any event, transportation is mired in, excuse me, transportation is mired in politics, and any suggestion that it isn't is being made by a fool. And BC Ferries is an extension of the highway system, and any suggestion that it should remain privatized is complete bollocks. And selling it was a crime, and yeah, there you go. There's my rant about rail services and all the shit that comes with it. But that said, I'll talk about some positive things. So like I actually will say that there are a lot of good cities in North America with good transit. Some of them really could use a lot of TLC. Any good mods? I did load a couple. I haven't really done much with them because the vanilla game by itself is pretty good. I don't know if I have any of the content in here. It doesn't let me do anything here. I'd have to like save. I would have to save at this point. excuse me, and show you stuff. But like, I don't even have. Can I go into this? Oh, sweet. Okay. Yeah, there's some mods here you can get. But like a lot of them, like I don't really have any mods that I would suggest that we can go for. There's a highway toll. Ooh, wow. Oh, you can only do this in multiplayer. This game is really fun over multiplayer, by the way. What was I gonna do here? So I got all this here. One thing I wish this game had was like days in transit. I wish there's a way for me to tell if there's congestion. Like, that would be kind of fun to do, is just like... Where's Tumble Ridge? Oh, I could run by August 1988. You know what we could do? Let's do this here. Let's do our first trucks. Because roads actually take very little time to build. And then in the future, I can just go and dump rail, or like deal with rail on the mail. Mail on the rail, Jesus. So let's put this here. You refuse to allow me to do this. You want frickin' mail service. Why don't you want to have a lorry depot there so I can, like, give you rail? Cannot fucking believe you offer a subsidy, and yet you will not let me go and build you a lorry depot so I can go and give you mail like you asked for. So here's a bunch of trees. Will you let me build this? Thank you. No, I didn't want... I want you to... You must destroy lorry depot... Lorry station first? What do you mean? Okay, let's change this up here. I don't understand why this game is doing this to me. There we go. Well, I'll have to worry about the central later. And then it wants to go to Tumble Ridge. Okay, there we go. And then let's build... Where are we at? We're in April, so I gotta do this quick. And then we're gonna build new vehicles, and we'll build a mail truck. And then this. And then you're gonna go here. You're gonna go there. Alright. And then you're gonna get service here, and you're gonna get service here. And then full load, and then you can go here. And then that should be enough for this here. So I'll give you 2 of them. And then let's build up. I'm going to call this unprofitable mail services, UMS. Because mail is a public good. And then let's get that subsidy. Alright, there we go. So that should meet that subsidy requirement. Jollyhead to Ricketyberry. We could run a rail. Oh, we can run some, we can definitely run some mail trains here. I'm gonna regret this, aren't I? I'm gonna regret this decision, but let's just do it this way. You are just gonna get you're gonna get all the mail you want. We're just gonna put like 2 rail cars here and have it go here. And then always go there. And then we're gonna make it go non-stop. And then full load. No, yeah, and then unload. And then do this here. Actually, you know what? Let's not do that in Jollyhead. We don't want to do... Load any cargo. Load any cargo. No, I want to load... load if available, excuse me. That's what I wanted to do. So let's do that. And then we're going to call this the Rail Mail Services. And then put this train on there. So that's the Rail Mail Services number 18. Doesn't like Philadelphia have like this weird rail station or something like that like is completely underground or something nonsense like that? And like it's overbuilt and they barely use it because of politics. Yeah, I don't know what SEPTA. I don't know what SEPTA. Actually, I do know what SEPTA is, but like I haven't been to that part of the United States. I've been to the only parts of the Northeast I've been to, and I'm gonna say this loosely, is like New Jersey, New York, and I guess technically we can throw in Virginia, Maryland, DC, and that sort of thing. Alright. So, I'm going to break the game now. Because what I want to do is I want to look at the town directory. And we have Cheekyburg, and it's in the middle of fucking nowhere. I want to build an airport. And just have something that's a huge money driver for me. And then we can, like, really go to town. Airports are freaking broken in this game. Just as an FYI. Alright, so we have these 2 airports here. Let's build our first passenger service between 2 airports. We can actually build, like, this Huygen? I don't know. I don't know how we're supposed to say it. It's Huygen. Anyway. Screw that. I want to just build, like, I don't know, small planes here. They can go 1,000 kilometers an hour, roughly, 952. They can hold 85 passengers and 10 bags of mail. We could build an air taxi. Gee, I wonder who they're referring to. They could be referring to, I don't know, is it Airbus? And this one holds 210. And because of the size of these cities, let's give them big planes. So we can do an A21. I'm guessing that I want to keep saying A210. We'll say A21. A21. You know what? I'm going to go with... let's go with the dingers. Let's do that. So we'll build 2 planes. But we'll do this one first. So let's go from here to here. Always send them to the hangar, so that way they... You can say whatever you want in chat as long as it doesn't break the rules. If it's cursed, I don't care. Say the cursed shit that you want to say. I ain't going to get upset with you. Let's call this unsubsidized airlines. There's another industry that's like overly subsidized as airlines. There we go. So we got 2 planes here. And they're going to go fly across the map and earn me tons of money. Thank you, unsubsidized airlines, for making me a ton of money. And it's serviced by rail, so, like, you know, whatever. We got this oil field here. So airplanes do crash in this game, as an FYI. But you know what? Here's the thing. Once you take an airplane from Twisterworth to Cheekyburg, you know, like, Cheekyburg has nothing around it, but you get over here and there's tons of things to do out this way. Well, that's such good chocolate. What do you mean nothing is getting transport? Are you even, like... Is there anything servicing this station? Okay, so I have an idea. This is not doing... this is not going optimal here with this, this little setup. So let's build a road all the way over here. And then what I want to do is build this. And then I want to build a lorry station here. And this will become part of South. There we go. And then what I want to do is build it to get to here. Yeah, let's do that. So to Twister Wharf Central. So now we can do this goods transport stuff here. How many... Does it tell me how many, like, items? 16 crates of goods. So this takes, like, 2 more crates than the other. So let's use that. Let's call this... I'm going to call this... Moving Stuff Around Company. That's what we'll call this. So the Moving Stuff Around Company will just move stuff around. That's the name of this company. And then we'll just do 3 of these trucks. And then I forgot to give it orders, but that's no big deal. So your job is to go here and here. You will always do a full load here. And then you will unload here. And you will get service done here. And then you will share orders with truck number 3. And you will share orders with truck number 3. There we go. Oh, the other big thing about this game, if you decide to play it, is that you want to make certain that you avoid building roads over railway tracks. So if you actually send any of your trucks over a railway track, build a bridge over the track. What'll happen is, unlike the trains, trains generally will obey the signals. The only instance where it doesn't happen is if you make, if you change the signal arrangement. That will that'll mess with things a little bit. So what you want to do is like, be careful about when you redo your signals or something like that. With trucks, on the other hand, and buses included, they will sometimes just ignore the fact that there's a train coming, and will just drive right onto the tracks, even if a train is about to go over it. And the other thing is if the truck breaks down on the train track, well, that could also cause a collision. So yeah, avoid collisions. Always avoid a collision. Let me just think about this here. Accept mail, goods, okay. What do we got here? How much stuff is sitting here? 111 crates? Okay. I had half a mind to leave Vancouver at some point. I did live in another city for a while, but I came back. The city is nice to live in. There's lots of other places I'd love to live in, given the opportunity, but I do like it here. For the right reasons, I would leave, though. this here. Like, when I was growing up in this city as a kid, I definitely would say that, like, most people didn't know where Vancouver was, you know, with some exception. And now it's like, I can straight up say, like, I live in Vancouver and people will know what that is. And I feel like that's like a compelling reason not to leave in some ways, just because, well, I kind of live in a city that people know about and there's actual things here. It isn't to say like this is like the best city in the world. It's a nice city to live in, and I do like I do feel like, you know, there are a lot worse places to live. Yeah, and like I can make lots of little criticisms about this place, but there's no need for me to do so. What do I want to do about this oil here? I have an oil field that I want to, like, get oil from. Like, are there any oil wells being pumped all the way over here? So there isn't. So part of me wants to do something, and this is something you can do to sort of, like, shortcut a couple of things. You can, like, transfer oil at an oil, like an oil platform. It seems like, I don't think you really should do this in real life for a lot of reasons. I'm going to do this. Put this here. And I'm going to do two things. So the first things first is that I want to build a oil tanker here. And its job is to go to here, to here, to here. And then what I want it to do here is I want it to load all cargo, and when I get to here, I want it to transfer. And when it goes to the depot, just get serviced. So that's step one. So that's dealt with there. Then step two is I want to build another ship. And I want to put this ship in the same Valdez Express. And then what I want it to do is to go from here to Pinkergate, not Pinkerton, but Pinkergate. Get serviced here, do a transfer, and then do a full load. And then just let that run there. Because then the idea that I have here is if I go and drop oil off here, the problem I fear running into is, like, if you only transport, like, all this oil there, like, the ships are never, like, I'll find out in a moment if my idea is right, like, but the ships will, like, always, like, have oil expiring, and, like, it's not profitable, so I want to avoid that. So let's do that. The other thing I'm going to do is I need to run a helicopter all the way out there. Quackpool will not let me do this. How do I make it so I can run an effective... Well, maybe Rumbleworth is a little bit better. Am I running rail service to Rumblewood? Rumbleworth, excuse me. Yes. Okay, so 2 trains run to Rumbleworth. So let's build that a helipad. So, excuse me. So let's grab ourselves a helicopter airport. We can get this one right here. Will it let me? Yes, it will. Okay, cool. So Rumbleworth will be a launching point for helicopters that are going from here to the oil field, and then we'll send it to the depot for servicing. And then we'll make this part of that weird airline. What do they call it? Sea Duck Airways? Because I guess it does go over the water, so we can call it that. I'm going to change the music up here. What do we got here? We got Holiday Island, traditional Irish. Traditional Canadian tune book. There we go. So listen to some supposedly traditional Canadian music. You know what we can also do now is that we got this Pinker Gates city here, and we also have Rumbleworth. Am I too far away to do this? Let's find out. It might be too far away, but let's see if we can pull this off. No, it's too far away. What about here? Yes, okay. So we can do this. Accept goods. I'm listening to it. I don't think it is Log Driver's Waltz. God, that's such a throwback too, hey? Log Driver's Waltz. I don't know how many non-Canadians are aware of Log Driver's Waltz. Let me put this here. There we go. So we got that dock there. I'm probably gonna need to put a buoy here. Alright, so we're gonna build like our first actual proper ferry service here. We can use hovercrafts. They go pretty fast. They go like 112 kilometers an hour. This one holds slightly more but goes slower. So let's use the faster service. Then go from pink. Let's actually do this here. Let's move this up this way. And then we can just go to this buoy. And then we go here. And then we go here. And then we do a service. We do a service. And then after we go to the depot, we go to the Rumbleworth one. And then we put that down. I guess that's what we'll do. And then we're going to call this, how about this? Government Ferries. There we go. And then we're going to have, let's give this... Let's turn on one at a time here. I want to, like, get it to work. I don't want them, like, clumping up together. So as soon as that ferry gets to the first buoy, I will then turn on the other one. I think that's what we'll do. All right, come on, go there. All right, there you go. So we got that. So that way, because the other problem is, like, if you send them all off all at once, they're just going to group together and then just start leaving. And like I mentioned earlier, you don't really want to have it so your passenger ferries are like clumping together, because then you end up like with a situation like in Toronto where the buses just kind of come all at once. So I want to avoid that. All right, I'll do this one here. So all three of them now running. So now we have like ferry service between these two parts of the little island we have here. But now I want to build like rail service. I'm hungry for rail. Can I get away with this? I have no idea if this is Log Driver's Waltz. I'm very uncertain to what this music is. I'm not versed in Canadian folklore. I'm gonna put on some. There's like there's 5 volumes, and they're all done by this guy named Barry Taylor. They have Irish tunes as well. Let's see what this says. Sounds so silly. Okay, I know this track. What the hell's it called? Here, I have a better chance of actually identifying Irish music than Canadian music. Sorry. Actually, What is this song, though? God. What the hell is this song? It's gonna drive me bananas all night. Massey Semite. What do you mean, like? That's life here. Like, I've driven behind giant trucks like carrying logs numerous times around here. I'm not sure what you're getting at. Are you like making a Final Destination reference? I know of that movie and I haven't seen it. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Like, if Lizzie Berry's in chat, she might be able to comment on Final Destination. I do believe that's one of the scenes, but where somebody like gets murdered, but like that's about it. I don't know much about I'm not really terrified of driving behind logging trucks. So I kind of want to build like... Oh, okay, I see what you're getting at. Yeah. So Log Driver's Waltz is this old Canadian, like... Okay, so Log Driver's Waltz, to the best of my knowledge, is like some sort of old Canadiana song. I don't know much about it, okay? But what I can tell you is that it is a animated short that was made by the National Film Board, which is, you know, this Canadian organization, Crown Corporation, no less. Yeah, believe it or not, the NFB, if you're not familiar with them, is actually a Canadian Crown Corporation. But its purpose was, sorry, that is an animated video by them, if that's what you're getting at. So that's like, that's all I can really say to it, though. This song, on the other, all the music that's playing right now is not Canadian, it's Irish. And this is music that, believe it or not, I'm actually more familiar with because growing up, my sister was an Irish dancer. So as a result, I actually know what, no, I wouldn't be able to tell you the titles of the music that's being played, but I can definitely tell you that I've heard a lot of this before. It would sound better if I actually had like actual MIDI equipment, but I don't have anything like that. What's really hilarious is that if you go into like touristy areas of Ireland, they will play this music, but nobody really will play this music generally. Alright, so we're going to build our first South Island railway. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build across this way first. And then... Is there anything down this way? We might have to consider what to do about all the way over here. Yeah, let's build... Okay, I have an idea. So we're going to build... I don't know, 2 platforms here. What do you think about this here? Alright, there's now a rail service to Cheekyburg. God, some of this music sounds like it would belong in some RPG. It's like you just wandered into a little town and you're seeing people dance around or whatever. Well, you're out in the northeast, right, Sporkife? I seem to recall you mentioning this to me before, that you live out that way. Yeah, Central Maine, so there we go. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to build, like... Since I have a fresh start with this side of the map, I can actually purposely build high-speed rail. Typically, you'd build high-speed rail in, like, established areas, but... good luck. Cool, the airport no longer accepts wood. That's a real shame. It can no longer ship wood by air. In any event... So let's do a couple of things here. First of all, I'm going to just run a short high-speed section here. This is kind of like I don't know, proof of concept. I don't know how else to describe this. And let's do this here, and then the other thing I want to do is just purposely build this for later. You know what? Let's put that there, actually, because... Flying airmail. I would like to see somebody, like, mail a 2x4. Like, you know, just go into Canada Post with a whole bunch of lumber and say, like, yeah, I want to mail this. Just, like, go into, like, Rona or Home Depot or something like that and pick up some lumber and then just, like, wrap it in, you know, shipping paper and be like, yeah, I want to mail this. I'm certain that somebody at Canada Post will be like, what the fuck are you mailing? Okay, so build this, build a separate waypoint, and then... Cool. And then what I want to do is then build this. So, like, this is being purposely designed with high-speed rail in mind, because now... God, this is the sort of... So, this music is hilarious to me in a lot of ways, because, so, my grandmother, who's long since passed, she's been deceased for 5 years as of this year. My paternal grandmother, no less. She was very much into Irish culture, and to the point where, like, you know, like, she really pushed, you know, like, all of us to really embrace our Irish heritage, and that's the reason why, you know, I maintain Irish citizenship despite being born here and that sort of thing. You know, because my grandmother really wanted us to be Irish, which is fine. I don't really take exception to that. What's hilarious is, like, how technically adept my grandmother was. Now, I will say this openly. I never was the type to really get along with her. She like, you know, like, how can I put it? I would say that she was not the most personable person out there. But I do owe a debt of gratitude towards her for, you know, when I was younger, like when I was like 3, no less, pushing me to, one sec here, I'm gonna call this South Island HSR. Cool. Pushing me to, like, you know, embrace computers. And this was, like, you know, the late 80s when I first got to touch a computer. She really made it a point to, like, do all this technical stuff on her end. Like, she really wanted to do this stuff as well, and so she had used her computer quite extensively. Anyway, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, and I don't intend to, because I have to kind of form my thoughts from what I'm trying to say. She very much was technically adept. She always was, and even to the moment she passed away, was heavily using computers. She maintained a website, and I think it's still up, actually, for that matter. And she would very much have all sorts of things like genealogy and that sort of thing. You know, the stuff that you kind of expect from an older person who is an immigrant to another country. She really liked to keep track of the things that, you know, how can I put it? She really liked to embrace her Irish heritage. I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to say. And yeah, if you went on her website, it would always play Irish MIDI music. And she had this, like, widget that would just straight up all the time play Irish music. And I'm guessing, like, this sort of music would show up on there. So if I were to go and find her website, and you don't have to go looking for it, please don't. But, like, you would definitely hear this sort of music just playing in the background. And it was it's just the funniest thing. So as I'm hearing this music, I'm just thinking of my grandmother's website as growing up. You know, like she was the reason why I had an ICQ number in 1996. She was the reason why I had a Commodore 64 when I was 5 or 6, I guess. You know, and she always pushed me to, you know, really focus on it. Now that said, like I said, like I wasn't the most, I didn't have the best relationship with her. But you know, like I do owe her a bit of debt of gratitude. So as I'm hearing this music, I'm just like literally just thinking of my grandmother's website, which had mini music playing in the background. And like it was very Web 1.0. Like if I were to like go and look for the website, which I believe is still there, um, I'm pretty confident that that MIDI music is still there. So in any event, I thought I would just share that. I just, as I'm listening to this music, I'm just having a bit of a chuckle to myself here. Cool. Okay, I got the story. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick little break. I would like to just kind of go do a bio break and all that sort of thing. Um, but I'll be back in a couple minutes. I have something new to show you. I actually added some new commercials, so I'm gonna put those commercials up for a little bit. You can all enjoy them. And we'll see what happens. I'll be right back.
Happy set. Get you. プレイステーションから楽しい仲間がやってきたよ。かわいいおもちゃが全部で4種類。ハッピーセットマクドナルド。
あのさ、
こんなマンションの管理人になってくれませんか？ワンピースマンション。
タプコン。
新しい冒険が今始まろうとしている。愛よ、勇気を奮い立て。僕らはマリオと強くなる。テクニカルファンタジーゲームスーパーマリオブラザーズ3。
ゲームボーイアメリカで人気抜群のアクションソフトメトロイド2を紹介しよう。あのメトロイドがぐーんとパワーアップしてアイテム充実、敵キャラだって最高にエキサイティング。ゲームボーイソフトメトロイド2。
メトロイドおもろいど。
もうめちゃめちゃ期待しとるからね、うちは。ほんまに。ちゅうわけで予約してくれはった方にはこれつけますさ。
そばにいてくれれば。
コンビニで予約した人だけバンダナもらえます。ファイナルファンタジー10は
コンビニで。
ゲームボーイアドバンス。
急げネット君。プログリーントランスミッション。未来をデリートさせるな。ゲームボーイアドバンスインストール。いつでも僕らは繋がっている。バトルネットワーク6万 X で。
Hey, I'm back. I just had to grab a drink, and then I realized I wanted to send a message to a friend, so I went and did that, and now I'm back. Yeah, so I have a lot of mixed feelings about like, yeah, there's a big disconnect between like being proud of your heritage and then being like nationalistic. Like I'm quite proud to be Irish. I don't really take any exception to being to saying that I'm Irish and that I'm, you know, I can make a lot of criticisms about Ireland and so forth, but at the end of the day, like, I very much like Irish culture. But at the same time, like, I think where the differences come up is like in between nationalism and like pride in your own heritage is whether or not you're capable of actually being critical of it. Like, you know, it's sort of like why I kind of like roll my eyes at like this, like, you know, like, and I'm gonna talk about this in the nicest way, and sorry, in the best way I possibly can, and that is like nationalism doesn't really belong to any specific side of the political spectrum. You can be like really left leaning and be very nationalistic about things. And Canadian nationalism really irritates me. I really hate this whole smug ideal that like everything is better in Canada, because it isn't. There's so many things I can say about like what's wrong with this country. Where like yeah, that's literally what half of Canadian nationalism is like, at least we're not the United States. And I'm going to say this straight up, like, I am happy that I live in Canada as opposed to the United States. I am not going to tell you otherwise. But at the same time, like, I'm not going to go and put on like this, give anyone the impression that like life is 1,000 times better in Canada than it is in the United States, because we have our problems. Yeah. No. You're precisely echoing what's on my mind about this. I really hate this whole notion that, like, you know, Canada's identity is wrapped up in not being the United States, because that's true, but where I start to get upset is like, oh, we don't have a racism problem in this country. Fuck you, we do. We have our own flavor of racism in this country. All I have to do is let me pull up a number here. $215. That's a number I'm going to spit. I have got the number because the number has increased, but I'm going to use the number 215. That number, if I say a number out loud when it comes to talking about racism in this country, it is a number that is basically, you know, where blood is on our hands. And, you know, it's really unsettling whenever I get to hear from someone's like, you know, like, oh, you know, like, we don't have a racism problem or whatever. And it's like, no, we do. And like, you know, people will go and say like, oh, Canada never really like had slavery. We did. You know, Canada did have slaves. Don't ever let anyone tell you that that wasn't the case. I'm happier. I will say this. I do prefer living in Canada. There are benefits to living in Canada over the United States. Noodlesville, what a strange name. But I just cannot stand this whole, oh, you know, nothing bad, you know, Canada's like a racist-free paradise, because that's not the case. Like, there are, like, the way we treat Indigenous people in this country is absolutely heinous. The way that we do not, you know, like, we got Indigenous reserves that are, like, you know, near major municipalities who do not have adequate drinking water. And then the whole reserve system that was designed in the 1800s, when Queen Victoria was still the monarch, is still with us today, and was designed purposely to, you know, let the white settlers, you know, profit while Indigenous people had to deal with squalor. So, you know, like, and then of course you get like these asinine notions like, oh, you know, like, Indigenous people just don't know how to manage this or whatever. And it's like, no, because you put these people in areas where, like, the land is just, you know, like not... You wouldn't build a city normally there at all. Like, the entire... Like, all these reserves exist where they are, oddly enough, because of railways. Here's a perfect example of this. Like, if you go look at, like, at indigenous reserves, a lot of them were positioned the way that they were based off of things like railway expansion. And it's just, I don't know. It's super frustrating whenever I hear this stuff from, like, people who go on about Canada being like this paradise. Is Canada a much better place to live if you're a queer person? Absolutely. I will tell you this. If you're a woman, even under the conservatives, you know, abortion rights were actually improved. You know, like if you're a cis woman and you want to get if you wanted to get an abortion, or, you know, not just cis women, but like if you're AFAB, excuse me, you know, you can get an abortion, and it was even improved during the reign of Harper, who was fucking socially conservative as all hell. Like, Harper was one of the worst prime ministers we ever had. I shouldn't say he was one of the worst prime ministers. He was actually a very effective prime minister, but he was an asshole. He was a complete fucking dickhead, and he did a lot of things that were extremely harmful. But I never want to hear from someone in this country who to tell me that, like, this is, like, you're never gonna have, like, you know, American-style politics up here, because there are people who want that here. And it's just really, really, really fucking annoying. Alright. Anyway. Oh, there's people who do. There are people who do. There's the, what do you call it, the PPC, the People's Party of Canada. Alright, cool. I settled something for Friday morning. Cool. Yeah. In any event, just I won't don't get me wrong, I love living where I live, but I definitely get irritated whenever I have fellow Canadians who decide to tell me about how great this country is, and then completely overlook the fact that we still have Indigenous people living in squalor. That's an odd prime minister to be aware of. Why Mackenzie King? Like, I'm curious about that, because the only, like, that's a very interesting, prime minister choice, that you have there. Like, are you, the only reason why I can think that you might know of him, might be World War II? Is that the reason why you know about him? Exactly, there's a good point right there. Because, like, Mackenzie King, was Prime Minister during World War II. He was also Prime Minister, like, before World War II for, like, but, like, was voted out. God, was he a conservative or was he a liberal? I'm pretty certain he was a conservative. Yeah. Slippery weed local authority refuses to let me build here. Well, I'm just going to build you more trees. I'm just going to build you tons and tons of trees. Enjoy the trees. And the loss of farmland. There we go. So let's build all this up here. In any event, it's really funny how much of what we're talking about here can just come all back to what we're playing here, which is OpenTTD, because, like I said, like, You can't do engineering without politics. And yeah, that's kind of the idea. You can't do engineering without politics. Anyone ever tells you otherwise is fooling you. Well, that's a interesting. Tom Scott did something on Mackenzie King. That I have questions about why. Like, so here's the thing. Tom Scott's actually a friend of a friend, believe it or not. Because some friends of mine moved to Vancouver from the UK, and they actually know him in real life. I don't know much about him personally, but that wasn't when he was when he was visiting the country, was it? It probably was. That's such a random thing for me to hear that Tom Scott would do a video on. Oh, Evan Hatfield. Oh, okay. I see. That makes more sense. I was like, well, why would Tom Scott, of all people, talk about Mackenzie King? But that makes way more sense. Okay. Why is there a height difference? No, there is no height difference. Okay, yeah, post it on our Discord if you want to. I'll happily take a look at it. So the original versions of these games were made by the same developer. I don't know what to tell you specifically about how much of the code base was shared, but the developer was the same. So this game was made and was ported over, like ported to C or something like that, and then it made an open source version, sort of to the same tune as Roller Coaster Tycoon. And yeah. So interesting. So I can tell you about a little bit about Canadian prime ministers if you're interested. There's some really interesting Canadian politicians who were, how can I put it, really out there. Was it Borden? I realized Borden's on the best. Dog, I think it was. Let's see here. Who was it? Who was it? I think it was Robert Borden. Let me just see if I can find his details here real quick, because I'm pretty sure it was him. Was it Borden? Because Borden was the prime minister during World War I. Who is the... Maybe it wasn't Borden. Let me see here. I can't find the example. I want to say it's Prime Minister Borden. Anyway, yes, Mackenzie King was a liberal. I'm trying to remember if this was Borden or not, and I want to say it was. Who was after Robert Borden? It might not be him. It might be, it could be Laurier that had that. Okay, it's either Borden or Laurier. And so I'm trying to remember which president did this, but like, there was one of your U.S. presidents that like basically, who was always kind of was suggested that he wasn't really president, his wife was. Canada had something very similar, but it was a little bit more out there. And that was one of the two prime ministers that I'm failing to remember, used to speak to his mother, who had since deceased, long since deceased, for policy advice by using his pet as a medium. And I want to say it was a dog. It could be a cat, but it was one of the two. I want to say it was Robert Borden. And yeah, the implication was that a lot of domestic and foreign policy decisions, Robin Borden was actually at the Treaty of Versailles. So was it Mackenzie? No. Mackenzie King was not the one that was speaking to. Are you for certain that was Mackenzie King? Because I'm almost certain it was Borden. If you have, is that actually what the story is about? Like, if it's Mackenzie King, it's Mackenzie King. Like, whatever, it doesn't change. It won't change the fact that this happened. Good lord. Okay, so Mackenzie King, apparently. I thought this was Borden. I guess maybe I'm just getting world wars mixed up. Yeah, he basically spoke to his mother through his dog for advice. This is the weirdest thing about, Canadiana that's often never really talked about, is the fact that we had a prime minister that saw fit to speak to the dead to figure out what the hell to do about, I don't know, insert crisis here. But yeah, there's your little Canadiana story about how we had a prime minister who spoke to the dead to figure out what the hell to do because he was stuck. God, I can't believe it. If that's seriously Mackenzie King, I am absolutely stunned that it was World War II, not World War I. I don't know why I had it in my head that it was Borden. It didn't really make sense for it to be Laurier, but yeah, it's wild to think that that this actually happened, but it did, and that is your Canadiana right there. What other weird stories can I tell you about about prime ministers? Yeah, I really don't have much else to say about a lot of Canadian prime ministers. Like, the first Trudeau is rather interesting as a Canadian prime minister. Like, we can talk about the October crisis being where Canada finally realized that it actually had to do something about itself in the long term. I can make a lot of quips about how, like, the FLQ and all that sort of thing really changed Canadian politics in a way that I don't think this country really ever has recovered. Having having a diplomat murdered definitely had significant consequences for Canada in the long term with respect to dealing with internal crises. There's the Oka crisis that came up afterward. I think the Oka crisis wasn't actually under Trudeau. I think that was under Mulroney. But in any event, just wild things that there's a lot of just wild prime ministers we've had, but Trudeau is definitely one of the more interesting ones in modern times. But yeah, if you ever want to read up on like when Canada really had a wild ass problem to deal with, Jesus Christ. Okay, so yep, that's that is a very wild fact, and thank you for sharing that with me, because like I don't know why I was fixated on that being Borden, but Borden was an asshole. What can I say about Borden? Like, Borden was like, what did he do? Actually, I have one thing that actually I can lay going back to October Crisis, and Robert Borden, for that matter. Robert Borden is technically responsible for the for how Trudeau, the first Trudeau, dealt with the FLQ the first time back in the 70s. Because of Borden, we had the War Measures Act, which was basically this act that was created that would strip civil liberties willy-nilly if invoked. The War Measures Act was last used in the 70s when a bunch of French separatists kidnapped a French provincial minister and a British was it? I don't think it was a British High Commissioner, but it was definitely a diplomat. And one of them was murdered. I want to say it was the diplomat. And one of them forced a speaker on the CBC to read their manifesto. Like, if you ever want to read about some wild times in Canada, just go look up the October Crisis. You'll be like, what the hell happened to you all up there? Like, we've had our fair share of wild situations occur. It's just, we're not a quiet country by any stretch. Anyway, there's your cool little Canadian history lessons. I guess I'm giving away free Canadian history today. Canada has had a civil war, believe it or not. It's just that it was never really pronounced. Because around the time the United States... I wouldn't say we actually had a civil war. That's kind of improper of me to say. Around the time the United States broke off from the British, there was tension in Canada for it to happen the same way. But the British were a little bit more effective about clamping down on that back then. Yeah. So when y'all in the United States broke off, the similar things happened in Canada as well. The big thing was the British knew to just kind of stomp that out before it became an actual issue or something like that. I don't remember what the whole story was anyway back then, but the short of it was they definitely kept they kept the country in the empire only because they dealt with it early enough before it became an actual issue up here. Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit here. Excuse me. Let's get rid of this. And that's a non-stop. So we're going to build more trains. Put these in here. And then we're going to build, I don't know, 4 of them. I'm going to get 4 trains. 4 new trains that go super fast. Yeah, that's happened. What was it? The Fenian raids? Was it the Fenian raids? Yeah, it was the Fenian raids. Yeah, there's a lot of distrust of the Irish in Canadian history. Not so much now. Like Mulrooney, for example, is an Irishman or Irish heritage who went on to form he was an Irishman who eventually became prime minister. I can't remember what his background is. I don't really care. He was a Terrible prime minister. He did a lot of bad things to this country. But anyway, I'm rambling a little bit and I don't mean to. Should we build... I'm starting to think that I kind of built this island to the best of my desires here. So I think I might actually call it for tonight. I might go do something with Fight K later, but tomorrow I'm going to stream. I'm going to speedrun some games.